everybody. Welcome to the show, the Chorizo Bros.
Hey.
Hey.
That's us.
That's
the
us.
Chorizo Bros.
Let's introduce the guy to my right here.
I'm Art.
I'm Joseph. This is
Jeremy right here.
all right. So exciting news. Episode 1, straight off the bat. We have a sponsor, Arctica AC and Heating. So I've had the pleasure of knowing about this company for the past 10-ish years, and we've needed to use them a few times, and we've got everything fixed up, and they were kind enough to sponsor Video 1.
Nice.
We're gearing up. We're in San Antonio. We're gearing up for a very hot summer coming up. So those of you that might need to get grandma out of the heat, go ahead and give Arctica a call. We're going to leave a link in the description below, and their phone number is 210-847-0775. So if you need some AC work done, fabulous company to call.
In San Antonio.
In the greater San Antonio area. So thanks to them for sponsoring this video.
Thank you, Arca.
Thank you, Arctica. We're going to talk about a very famous story, famous book turned TV show called Lonesome Dove. So we wanted to talk a little bit about what the story is, and the concept of our video today is mostly going to be a spoiler-filled kind of discussion about the characters, situations, the writing, the TV show, all of it. So right off the gate, we should just say that watch the show or read the book, so that way you can be caught up on everything that's going on. But I'll tell you a little bit about that right now. So Lonesome Dove is published in 1985 and joined the likes of Pulitzer Prize-winning novels Gone with the Wind, Grapes of Wrath, and Beloved by Toni Morrison. It won the prize in 1986, so a year after it was published. And it's a masterfully written Western epic containing 342,000 words, approximately.
It's big.
It's big. If you want to show them
really
how big that book is, there are. This tome of a novel follows two old Texas Rangers on a cattle drive from a town called Lonesome Dove all the way up to Montana. So the two Rangers, Woodrow Call and Augustus McCrae, are proprietors of the Hattle Creek Cattle Company. They decide to embark on a cattle drive upon hearing about the unclaimed land in Montana from their friend, also a Texas Ranger, Jake Spoon. Joining the cattle drive are the capable Josh Dietz,
Yep.
P.I., and young Newt. For happenstance, the only whore in town, the beautiful Lorena, finds herself on the trip as well. We find out that Jake Spoon is on the run from a mishap involving an accidental shooting and death of a dentist in Arkansas. This is where we meet the other half of our cast, July Johnson, the brother of the shot dentist, and he's also the sheriff, sets out reluctantly to track and bring Jake Spoon to justice. And he brings his stepson, Joe Boot. So it's another whole set of characters in Arkansas that are taking part in this story also. His wife leaves town on a whiskey boat, and his deputy Roscoe is sent after July to bring him news of the disappearance. And that's basically the concept of the show. That's how it starts. So CBS adapted the novel in 1989 into a miniseries starring Robert Duvall and Tommy Lee Jones. Larry McMurtry co-wrote the screenplay, which is huge, because he had a lot of input in how the story is going to play out. And
The author.
Yeah.
the author, Larry McMurtry, we thank you for that. He co-wrote the screenplay, and it won 2 Golden Globes for Best Miniseries and Best Actor for Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
The man. Danny Glover plays Josh Dietz. Diane Lane's in there also as Lorena. So we got some big names in the show. But that's kind of mostly the setup for what's going on in the story. So, and when you hear us talk about these characters, that's kind of what's going on there. I'll leave the notes aside for now. But we're going to let these guys kind of take over and talk about whether or not we should recommend the show and or book to everybody, and what your initial thoughts are.
Go for it.
I'll go first. Well, the show is not for like everybody. It's for like some people. You know what I mean? Especially if you want to see a good Western movie, I do recommend it. I think it's a very good Western movie to watch. Now the book, I haven't gone too far, but I do love the book a lot. I do recommend people to read the book more than the show itself. it's just how detailed it is. That's what I love about it so much, and it gets you more into all the characters. As the show just kind of shows you more of Gus and Carl. You know what I mean? And as the book tells you a little bit more backstory and stuff like that. I recommend the book for everybody, but the show for some people, not a more. Maybe the younger crowds probably won't be so into it.
Why do you think the younger crowds wouldn't be into it?
I guess just because of I mean, if they're into old Western movies, they probably will love it. It's just the day of, 1880,
Late
in the
1800s.
80s, right? Something like that.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I don't feel, but it does appreciate you how we live now. I mean, kind of how spoiled we are
Yeah,
now,
we're real
like,
spoiled.
like from that back in the time. But yeah, I do recommend the book for everybody, but not the show. I mean, I do like it myself. Maybe older folks will like it. So, like, I know Jessica's dad's starting to watch it. So, I mean, that's
That's your wife's dad, your
yeah,
father-in-law.
Yeah, my father-in-law.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's. I told him about it, and he started getting into. He barely only saw the first one and the second one, but he likes it. And he says
The
that.
first couple episodes?
Yeah, but he's read the book when he was a younger person.
Oh, he actually read the book?
Yeah,
Oh,
a
wow.
while back. But he's never.
It's a big deal.
He's
Yeah.
never seen the show itself.
Right.
And he's the only one that so far I've been having conversations with about it, because like
Besides us.
Yeah, besides us guys. You know?
Yeah.
All day.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great show. I mean, 4 episodes. It's a pretty relatively easy watch. You know, the episodes are about an hour. I think the hour and a
It's
half.
not even cheesy made either. It's not really.
It's like
Yeah.
90 minutes an episode.
Yeah, it's really well done. It's
Yes,
for a show in the 80s. You know, when I first initially, you brought it to my attention, I was kind of like, man, a show in the 80s, like, I don't know if I really am into it. And you told me it was a Western, and I was like, man, I've never heard of, like, big-time Westerns made in the 80s that are decent. And so, but after watching the first episode, the first episode was pretty slow. You're getting, used to these names and these characters. But, once you get going, it's really, really good. And like Art was saying, like, the book is, I'm not all the way done with the book yet.
Same here now.
I got through, like, the first, and I'm actually not reading it, I'm doing, like, the audiobook. So it's a little different, but, it's phenomenal. I think, like, you hit it right on the head. Like, it's not for everybody on the show. I actually don't think it's not for everybody as far as the book. I think that you have to have a certain, you have to be a certain kind of person to appreciate what it was like back then. Like you're saying, like a younger crowd. I don't think my first, recommendation for like what are these, like Gen Zers or Gen X or Alpha, I wouldn't say, hey,
Well,
you should, I know you're going to like that. It's not. I'm sure there are some younger kids that would like it.
Yeah.
But this is like something I'd recommend to like my father-in-law or my dad or my grandpa.
older folks,
Yeah.
I know what you mean. But I feel like also if they're readers, I think they will appreciate this.
For sure.
If
Yeah.
they're actual they're reading, I
Yeah.
think they will love this. Like I told you, I'm not a big reader myself, but I mean I never thought I was gonna be reading a novel like this or listening to it more than reading it.
Yeah. I mean, not to crap out on like the young people, but I just, from what I see on, television and what's out there currently right now, everything's like kind of in your face, fast paced.
Yeah.
That I can only assume that not a massive amount of young folk are going to be like gravitating toward the book and or the show. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
but
I can
all
see
in
the
all-
show more, but I think in the book, I think if someone wants to listen to a good read book,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think that would be
Yeah,
good.
it's calm. It's real easy listening. It's not like super hard, complicated to follow.
Yes,
it's
it's not
really
big
not.
words.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's super easy.
very.
I think it's definitely to its benefit that it's simply written. It's easy to follow. Yeah, the scale and the drama is grandiose, but the way that it's written is very easy to follow. You can, as long as you can keep up with the names and kind of track kind of where they are, it's not difficult to follow what's going on.
The only, I think, hard part, I guess, when you're listening or reading it is like some of the words that you might not be too familiar with, like a wrangler. I kind of know what that is, right? Like, but then to have it just be described, then I get used to that word. I'm like, oh, a wrangler,
yeah.
like somebody
Yeah,
that's-
it does
who
do
wrangles the cattle,
Yes,
like,
right.
or like, oh, here,
jeans.
this is my main man.
Wrangler jeans.
Right, yeah, like, oh yeah, is that the jeans?
Yeah.
Or, stuff like that. So, but after a while, you kind of pick up and you kind of just, fill in the
It
blanks.
becomes like second nature
Yeah.
to
Yes.
follow what's going on.
Yeah,
I really do like the book.
Yeah.
I can't wait to be done with it. Like, I
yeah.
can't wait to get to the journey part of it. I haven't not yet got to the journey part. I'm still in the beginning.
Yeah,
of the
that's
process.
that's pretty noteworthy. Also, I'm glad that you brought that up because not only is it just easy to follow, but it kind of takes a while for the action to get started. You kind of sit with them and hang out with them for a while before the cattle drive actually starts. That's probably almost a third of the way into the book before it really gets going, and then all the action happens after that, after you've decided you liked or not liked the character.
I do like the slow pace because it kind of introduces you to the characters, and you kind of start getting to know who they are. And,
because sometimes with certain movies or shows, they kind of just jump at you real quick, and you're almost like, behind a little bit. And for me, I'm not the smartest guy around, so I kind of need that like extra time to like get to know these characters. Because when the first time I watched the show, I kind of got that a little bit, like I was behind. But then because the first episode is not dragged out, but it's lengthy.
It's dragged out. Yeah.
It's lengthy, so I was able to I got behind in the first 10 minutes, but then I was like, okay, cool. Call, Gus, New. Okay. This is the 1800s. I'm filling in these blanks.
It's a lot of exposition, but it's done really naturally.
But remember, like how you were saying in a book, it really just talks about the character. Like Newton talks a lot about him, like his vision of sitting back and seeing these grown folks talk about these adventures, and he's like, man, like I'm excited. I want to go on these things. He doesn't even have a book or toys to wear. You know what I mean? Like he's a young person just hearing these stories, and he's so excited to go on this adventure.
I would imagine he's thinking about going out there on adventures all the time. His imagination's going wild on that. Hanging out with Gus all day and hearing
hearing the stories. You know what I mean? Imagine that. It's just.
That's a TV for him back then.
Exactly. That's his. I can't wait to hear some stories from Gus. Over dinner time, over supper, Or
even just giving him a task and then him doing it is the best thing in the world.
Yes.
Just, that amount of respect that they give him is super, super cool.
Having discipline and
And then talk about PI. There's another thing about the movie. They really don't talk about PI a lot. They kind of just mention little things. Oh, he's been with Gus. He's been a loyal guy. But this one, it's he had a woman that he was into, and he's a little slow. He can't really.
Yeah, you kind of pick that up in the show a little bit, but in the book, it's really more
detailed. Yeah, more specific.
They flesh the side characters out a lot more in the book.
Even what's the bartender name? Xavier. I believe it's Xavier, right?
Wands.
Yeah, they kind of detail about remember the hat? Remember the hat? What's his name?
Yeah,
Libby hat. He's used it for spitting. I put a little pillow and they throw it outside. You can get it to my pigs, and they'll chew that thing up.
Well, before we go too far.
Oh, sorry.
No, not at all. I want to hear your opinion, but I also have to consider anybody that might be watching that the time it takes place is it's in the Old West.
Yes.
And because of that, historically, they're not very kind to. The natives or African Americans and women, and I think that could definitely turn a lot of people off. But I think it's important for the point of the story to we say that up front that could be not necessarily a trigger warning, but they don't shy away from it.
No, not in the. I think in the show they're a little bit more subtle with it. It's not so in your face.
Yeah.
In the book though, it's much more prevalent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way they especially women, the way they're not I'm not
just not respected.
There you go. They're not very respected, and there's not really a dominant picture to them.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I've got some opinions about how the women are treated in this, but I don't know if.
No, I'm curious to know.
I
don't know if we want to get too much into that.
We can talk about whatever. Yeah. No, that I think the biggest thing that I like about this story, not necessarily the show or the book, but the story itself, is I've said this before. It's a subversion of expectations. It's everything that you think a classic Western novel should have. It does a version of that, but it doesn't play out the way you would typically think in your head. Oh, this is how this is gonna go.
You say Western and you immediately picture
these
John Wayne.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
John Wayne. Searchers.
Yeah, it's one of my.
And this kind of, I think Larry McMurtry does a good job of taking the things we like about those tropes and about those storytelling elements and flipping them on its head. So, we were talking about how women are treated, and it's kind of extraordinary how the women drive a lot of the plot, and you'd be hard pressed to convince me that a lot of it isn't because of what the women say and what they do. Gus goes on the cattle drive because of Clara. He's hoping to run by Nebraska on the way to Montana.
Because he didn't want to go.
Because he didn't want to go.
Yeah, he didn't want to go. Like and then when he heard about going to, I think it's Alabama, right, where she lives at.
Well,
Nebraska.
do we want to kind of let people know, like,
Oh.
getting into the kind of,
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's too much of a detail for average viewer. I don't know if
Which one? Which part?
that, like, the reason why.
Gus
Gus is
decides to go.
Yeah, all of it. We already said it's going to be spoiler heavy.
Okay.
So.
Okay, all right, cool.
We're all bets are off now.
All right, okay.
All hats are off now. we're knee deep in it now. So.
Oh, answer.
But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
not at all. Yeah, but that's Gus kind of. I mean, you don't really find out, like, he doesn't say that outright that that's why he's going, but you find out that he's kind of just going for that.
Well, he even thinks about it because he, like, in the narrative was saying about, like, oh, he knows that Claire's on the way towards that.
Mhm.
He can go see her.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
I think Jake comes back and tells them a little story like I just saw her.
I ran into her.
Yeah, and there just is a wave, and that's it. You know, they didn't really communicate again.
Well, they did. He was saying he couldn't. He didn't get invited over for dinner because she was with her husband.
Oh, okay.
So they like saw each other.
Yeah.
So Jake talked to Clara, and then of course
Got
Gus.
his
The
mind.
first thing Gus said was
Yeah.
like, "Well, what's Clara doing?
Yeah,
What's up
yeah,
with
what's
that?"
Claire doing? Yeah, he wants to go.
'cause
What's up?
that's all he wants to do is go see her, and so the
And
story
then-
would play out different if Gus didn't go on the drive. Because
Oh,
like
yeah.
I'm gonna stay back in Lonesome
Yeah,
Dove
that's
and hang
true.
out.
But Carl and Gus go together, man. Like they're perfect to each other. They're like
Yeah.
the opposite of each other. Like Gus is the more I'm going to go out and have a good time. I'm ready getting towards the end of my life. As Carl is getting more like, oh, I'm already getting older. Like this is, I want more than just this. You know what I mean? I think that I really, because in the book kind of tells him like he's getting bored of doing the same checkout, like going around the farm to see if everything, there's no Indians or anything. He's starting to realize like, hey, like this is not my call anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, Call is super ambitious. Like, very, very ambitious, right? And you would think that his personality would kind of be this, like, very ambitious type, very, like, out there, but he's the total opposite. And I think Gus is not very ambitious, doesn't want to go on this kind of stuff. And you would think that his personality would be a little bit more kind of reserved and, like, just laid back. But he's totally not. So I think that's really interesting. That's why they complement one another really well.
I like that.
So, I think when you were saying that, I was like, oh man, yeah, that totally checks out. And that's the cool thing about like these, ensemble casts and these characters, that it's just, they just mold so well together. Call and Gus are, two puzzle pieces that may not look like they fit together, the way they interact with one another,
yeah,
they're like
they talk,
jabbing at one another,
I like that.
but they fit so well in the encompassing of the whole story.
Yeah.
That's what you said right there. That last detail of how they like rib on each other a lot. That's like what drives a lot of why you could tell that they're friends. At least in my opinion, you don't think like, oh, they don't like each other because they just talk shit to each other. You get the idea that that's why they talk shit to each other, is because they're friends. We rib on each other all the time.
Yeah, we do, yeah.
And we kind of talk how they talk as far as busting your balls. Yeah.
It's a like form of endearment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I like that. I do like that about them. Man.
it reminds me of like, us just jabbering at one another.
Yeah.
It makes me,
Yeah.
And I think most like buddies, like that's what we do, So, you can relate to them in that way, even though these are fictional characters from the 1800s. That stuff never really has gone away.
Yeah.
And the human interactions between one of those is, timeless.
I like the bond, man, of like two men at that. You know what I mean? Earlier when we were discussing about like older folks not even having friends no more, like we were talking about our dads. You know what I mean? Like mostly our dads don't really have another older friend that they can rely or talk to like that.
I think that one of again, it's that subversion of expectations. The kind of two main characters of the story are older, and they kind of showcase older men being best friends, and that's kind of rare in real life. I feel like it is.
Yeah, I mean...
Or I can only imagine it just gets harder as you go out, your families and whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's not that prevalent in, modern society, I think. But also, too, like, I know that we think that Gus and Call are, like, best friends, and I think that's more seen at the end of the series because of what Call does and takes,
Correct, yeah.
Gus all the way back to Lonesome Dove.
Insane.
That's just awesome. That just shows, like, that type friendship. But I think in the series, it's not like the type of affection that you would be known to see. Like, they're not touchy-feely, they're not like complimenting one another, like jabbing at one another. So you kind of have to have that understanding and to really understand that that's what makes them close. Somebody might, like you said, might look at them and be like, oh, these guys don't care about one another. And then at the very end, he does this really massive, incredible thing for one another.
They respect each other. They love, and also they serve together too. They're rangers. So
you can tell. Serving together, I'm sure.
Yeah, brings you
solidifies a bond a lot.
Right.
Yeah, like you.
Saving somebody, and.
I think it's just different, like with the male and female kind of dynamics of like how we show our affection toward another guy is vastly different for the most part between two women.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's almost. I think reading the book is different because it does give you their thoughts a little bit, and they can't show that in the show. You can sort of tell what they're thinking and like how much they respect each other. But like, okay, so there's a scene whenever they're going past this place that Gus used to take Claro. They're going on a picnic, and
is it the river?
Gus is going through an emotional moment. He goes there. I don't know if you remember this, and he's crying. He's sitting by the creek or whatever stream or whatever it is, and he's like, Claire and I used to come here, and I lost her.
He was crying.
And he was legit. He was tearing up. He was having it rough, and he was still he was still joking and kind of sputtering and joking his way through it, but it was happening. And Call comes up and talks to him, and he sees it, and he's kind of like, whoa, but he doesn't fuck with him about it.
He's a little bit more like understanding, or at least trying to understand, and
I'm just saying. I think a lot of these are tough, masculine men.
Yeah. He could have easily just been like, oh, Gus, get on your horse and let's go. Let's get the hell out of here,
Yeah,
but he didn't.
He let him have the moment, and it was a really nice moment. I mean, maybe it doesn't sit in y'all's memory as recently because I just finished like the last episode last night just to get kind of geared up for this, and that was, I don't know if that's episode 4 or not, but it's one of the later parts, and it's kind of a nice moment to see, like, that is part of their friendship. Like, you kind of see these little moments between them where you go, well, that is their friendship.
Yeah.
As far as what happens with Call, and I know that we've since had this discussion already that he's like y'all's favorite character, right?
Yeah, he's one of my favorite characters.
Oh yeah, he's definitely my favorite character. For sure.
Okay, now you didn't want me to say. You said that the big gesture at the end where he takes Gus's body.
Oh yeah, because he doesn't break his word like you say he did.
He does. He definitely does.
So what part was that? That's why.
Gus asked him to tell Newt that he's his dad.
Oh yeah, that's
right.
true.
And he doesn't do it.
That's true. He doesn't do it.
So that says a lot about who he is as a person, right?
I'm curious in the book about
you said more of a dad. Like that's like the dad he is. Like he's not really. To me, I don't think he's a great father for not telling me I'm the father.
Yeah, he's a shit father for not being able to do it.
He's teaching him how to be a man. You know what I mean?
Yes.
To survive at this.
In this
time of era that we're.
I mean, I'm kind of torn in the fact that he didn't tell him that his dad, because I am kind of thinking that he kind of did. He didn't say those words. He didn't say, Newt, I am your father.
Yeah.
All Darth Vader, right?
Yeah.
He didn't say that.
Yeah.
But what he did do is Newt is the youngest of the
correct
the outfit. Yeah.
He's the youngest. And in the book, I obviously haven't finished it, but in the show, Newt goes through this long journey. It's like coming of age, right? And he does
story also, yeah.
Yeah, he does a lot. I'm sure in the book it maybe paints a picture a little bit more of like how much he grows.
Yeah.
So I can maybe kind of fill in the gaps there. But from the frame of reference of the show, Newt goes on this journey. He's becoming more of a man, and Call is like observant of that and decides like I'm gonna put him. But it's not super. He's not like at the very end. You're like, oh man, Newt is the guy. I didn't really feel like that. The fact that Call did that at the very end really surprised me. And so like the fact that Call did that makes me feel like, well, he's almost telling Newt like,
you're
you're my
progeny.
son.
Yeah.
You're my son. You're taking over my business
Yeah.
because you're my son. And so he didn't actually say, I'm your father.
Yeah.
He inadvertently put him in that position because they both know. And I felt like at the very end, there's this kind of like, look.
I think he should have told him.
I think he should have told him.
I think he should have told him. And that's what Newt wanted. He wanted to know who his father was, at least. You know what I mean? He heard stories about his mom. And I first thought that was Jake.
Well, no, Gus tells Newt too. He goes, "Yeah, that's your daddy right there."
But he doesn't believe him.
Well, he just would like to. He would have liked to have heard it from him.
Yeah.
That's true.
So okay,
But
so
I think Newt knows.
Yeah,
so
but
these
me
are
too,
complex.
I-
These are complex characters, and like I don't want to shit on the idea that okay, so that's the type of character Call is. But it's okay for these characters to have flaws. It's very much okay that they're flawed, and
Correct.
I
yeah,
think
but-
that's definitely a flaw in him.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, and that's all right, and he's got to hash that shit out. And if you, I just watched episode 4 last night, and Newt's like crying at the end. He's like, I don't belong to anybody. So he clearly, in an emotional area, was not okay with how Call
Yes,
left it.
How he left it, yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you're gonna say, oh, he was gonna go on this perilous trip by himself with Gus's body because he made that promise, he found it easier to trek 3,000 miles with a corpse and die, get close to dying, or over the stream, he almost loses the body, all this shit happens.
Body, yeah.
That was easier for him to do than it was to just be like,
I'm your father.
I'm your
To
dad.
just say a sentence.
Just to say it.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
easier for him to be like, I'm out.
But that's just his character.
I know, I'm
That's
just saying, like,
he's
it's a little
very
crazy.
Stern and like I'm not.
Yeah.
And it really does, like, I mean, like I said, at one point, that's the only thing I don't like about him. He doesn't tell his own son, I'm your dad.
Yeah.
But he did raise him to be, a great man, survive, how to do cattle, be a cowboy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, at that time, I think that would be something you want to teach your kids, you know what I mean? Especially if you have knowledge yourself as a ranger, and, like, teach them the ways of hunting, cleaning your gun.
Yeah, I mean, he's just, like Joseph said, he's just flawed. He's just very, very flawed. As much as we like him, he's just not, that's one of his character traits that
when
you
it's
just,
that, yeah.
you know.
I mean,
but it's kind of sad, because, like, yes, it's an awful thing that he did, but I think Call's the best, even with that. And
Yeah,
it's kind of
yeah.
really, it's actually really shocking for me to say, because I'm a father, and, for me to think that Call's my favorite character is kind of strange to me. I was thinking.
When his worst quality is that he's a bad dad.
He's a
a
bad
bad
dad. He's an awful father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that he didn't,
Like, damn, I wish I had the balls to
Yeah.
do that.
because I would never do that.
You would never do that.
Same
I would
here.
never
I
do
don't think I would be
either.
able to
Yeah,
bust
no,
toe and
yeah.
no, like,
No,
no, I am
yeah.
your father. I'm gonna
Yeah.
take care.
Yeah. But like we're not in that position, right? I mean, because we could easily just say, well, we don't know. There's not, you can't take a, what is it, a test? Like, what is it?
Paternity
Oh,
test.
You can't take a paternity
yeah.
test.
Yeah, and
Back then,
his mom
you
was a
know?
whore, so it literally
Yeah,
could have
that's
been
true.
anybody.
It could have been anybody.
Yeah, that's like a plus in his like why he wants to wash his hands of it.
Yeah.
But he still looks over him.
He does.
So I get it. I
Takes care
get
of him,
kind of
yeah.
like this is kind of his version of
I guess
of
raising his son.
raising him. Yeah. Like, can you imagine if Jake Spoon was his dad?
He'll be abandoned by now. He'll be
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
Jake's
sorry.
Spoon is-
I really don't like Jake.
Jake sucks.
I
Jake
don't
does suck,
like.
yeah.
Let me tell you, he does suck. He's
Yeah.
not one of my.
yeah, Jake is
Favorite
pretty
characters.
awful. He's kind of like, which is, I think I was telling you guys that it was surprising that Call wanted to go on the, cattle drive to Montana because of Jake Spoon's advice.
Well, and also in the book, he also says that Carl says that Jake does know about land. Like he knows how to study it. He knows. Anytime he ever mentioned about good land,
Yeah.
he's always been right on it. That's why he's comfortable believing him that Montana
Sure.
is a beautiful.
And even,
But
even
once again, you say, yeah, you're right, because he's kind of like iffy. Like, will you trust his words?
Yeah, and I'm sure that's just one thing that I thought. I mean, you kind of talk about it like that, and it's like, yeah, I could see that. But,
yeah.
If there's somebody that I really don't trust it because of their actions outside of, work and stuff, like
Yeah.
him being, all into prostitution and gambling and all that kind of stuff.
It's the gambling that's the
It's,
problem.
yeah, that kind of stuff, like, even if I knew his good qualities were directly associated in, like, what he's saying, I still might have a little bit of hesitation. I didn't feel like in the series and in the book when Jake said it, call was just like, boom, let's go. Like, I don't know. Just
Before you actually see Jake Spoon's like story unfold, did you guys get the vibe that he was gonna be like a Han Solo type, like a rogue, yes. Like kind of like he's got a heart of gold, but he rides the line of being like almost a criminal.
Yes.
You know, like a rascally. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, because that's kind of like the vibe I got
from
when they introduced him, and then I think you were gonna say something.
No, go ahead.
I asked you, but like that's again one of those subversion of expectations. You think he's gonna be, you know, the one that everyone thinks is just like such a scoundrel, and then he comes through in the end in some big way.
Yeah.
And that's not what happens.
No.
He just gets worse.
Yeah, it just gets worse.
Yeah,
you sort of see it. Yeah. You sort of see it kind of unfold.
And then in the book they say like supposedly the only reason why he got the gunslinger thing is because that one accident.
Yeah.
And like he shot him right in the
I
throat.
forgot they don't mention that in the show.
Yeah.
So remind me again what was it
one of the Rangers time when they were Rangers, like he got scared of this Indian and he kind of like just shot him off his hip. And they shot him right on the throat.
Yeah.
And so he was known for that one shot. So everybody every time they see him, oh man, he's a gunslinger.
That it was just, but Jake even knows it was just luck.
It was just
he just fired it off and it happened again.
Yeah, he just was afraid and boom, he just shot.
And then he gets a reputation for being this badass gunslinger.
And he's really
just an accident.
He's not.
See, I love that, man. That's what I'm saying. It's like, what is going on here?
Like you said, it's.
He's just like now he uses that for him to carry himself the way he is. Like, oh, I'm the guy who shot him.
I think most of us would use our reputations.
I think back then,
I was about to say
it's really important too.
Yeah,
if that happened,
exactly.
Kind of like in school when you're young, right? Like if they found out that you kissed an upper, your upperclassman, and it didn't actually happen that way. Yeah. You're sure as hell gonna be like, yup, I totally upperclassman.
That was mine. That's me.
And so Jake Spoon's that guy.
Yeah, he totally is. The book said it. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Why people are afraid of him or think that he's
hold a level of respect.
Yeah, a lot of respect for him. I was like, that makes sense.
And it makes sense why Gus kind of talks. Does he talk shit? I don't know if I would call it talking shit.
I think he really likes having Jake around because he's just another person that kind of. It's real easy.
He likes busting balls. That's what he likes. Gus likes doing.
Yeah, Gus just likes busting balls.
Yeah, because Call kind of gives him the reaction he's hoping for. I think Jake kind of really.
I'm with you on that.
He's a little less.
Call will be right away. Be like, whatever, bro.
Like, he's like, dude, shut up.
Go
rope up some of these horses.
So I actually think we should check the camera and take a quick break, and we can come back and discuss more. You guys think that's a good idea?
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay, cool. And we're back. Chorizo Bros.
Chorizo Bros.
Whose idea was that again? Was that yours?
I don't remember.
I said the 3 chorizos, and
he said the 3 chorizos,
and he added chorizo. I think I like Chorizo Bros. Better.
Well, because if one of us, let's say we do a recording one day, and one of us can't make it. It's not the 3 chorizos if one of us is missing.
There you go. Yeah.
So Chorizo Bros.
Yeah, I think. It's a stupid name, but it's kind of funny.
Nah, it's perfect for San Antonians.
Yeah,
representing San Antonio.
There you go.
All right, well, let's get back to it, guys. So we were talking about Jake Spoon just now. Is there anything else that we wanted to kind of add on to his arc and his characters? And
other than he sucks.
Other than that, we don't like him as a person.
There's nothing. There's really nothing cool about him. Like.
You mean like redeeming qualities, or you mean literally cool?
Like literally just like.
I mean anything at all. I'm like trying to think like what is something. That I like about Jake Spoon.
Even in the book, it says that he's a fake. He's not in his stories or lies.
Put him in a zombie apocalypse, and I would actually want to be with him. Because I feel like
there's no horse.
And he'll be a good.
And there's no gambling.
It might be worse.
It might be.
It might be worse.
My thought process on like hanging around him is like because I mean in the show he's a big freaking dude, man.
Yeah, the actor, I forget his name.
Yeah, he's a big dude. And I feel like he would do anything it takes to survive. Whether it means like screwing somebody over or like trying to like be buddy with somebody even though they're, kind of shady, but to get something out of it. I think in like a zombie apocalypse world you kinda have to
even in the book when he killed that Dennis guy who was the mayor too, right? I believe. it says that he was the
Yeah,
man
he's the
and the dentist
yeah.
guy. Like you could tell like his story was shady too when he was trying to talk to Gus and Carl about it. When he comes back after a tent with what's his name, Dietz. Remember when he goes eat
Our boy Dietz?
Yeah, when he goes eat breakfast and stuff with them.
Uh-huh.
Like the way he tells the story, it sounds like Carl doesn't really believe him either, and
It sounds like it's a lot worse than what he's making it out to be.
exactly.
Jake is the type, and this isn't unique to Jake as a character. I think most people just do this in general. When they tell stories about something that happened where they fucked up, they don't want to sound like it was their reason that it was fucked up. Like, you know, the person, oh, well, he started it, and,
Yeah.
you know, like,
It was make it sound like he was an accident. He kept on saying
that it wasn't his, he didn't start the fire.
no,
he makes him sound like he's better in the story than
yes,
probably
then
is.
he
He was probably
was,
misbehaving.
And it's kind of funny because like
Knowing about his shot, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And like when he's explaining it, if I hadn't seen the series and just started reading the book, if he's like saying all this stuff, I'd be like, man, that guy's just he's just lying.
Yeah,
right
It
away.
turns out that he actually wasn't. He was actually truthful about it. But the fact that he's just painting like you said, like he's trying to paint himself as
Like the
a
good guy, yeah. I didn't fuck up.
That wasn't my fault.
I was there in an
Yeah.
accident.
And speaking of that, we could talk about July Johnson and Roscoe Brown because that's
yes.
kind of related, like what you're saying.
Yeah,
about
that's true
the
because
dentist.
I believe it's what was her name? I forgot her name. The lady who comes and tells
Peach.
Yeah, Peach. Like they say, hey, you better go hunt him and stuff like that. And I really don't think July and then Roscoe either are really like sheriff material.
Well, real quick, just to kind of like reiterate what was happening there is, the story with July and them is set off by Jake, right?
Yeah.
But from the Lonesome Dove's perspective, he's just writing in from leaving. He's kind of on the run. They he tells a story.
yeah,
he tells
that's
a
true,
story like, oh, this is just some crazy shit that happened in Arkansas.
Yeah.
But he's
on the
there
run.
is that like in the back of his mind that could be hanged for.
Yeah.
Even how
happened
Gus
there?
said about the horse. Oh, that horse looks like you've been running.
You write it down.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I think in the book he says like, hey, I'm a gambling man, but I'm not trying to gamble when the sheriff, because I guess July Johnson was out when he accidentally shot the dentist. So he's like, I'm not going to gamble when he comes back on my life.
Yeah.
That they're not just going to hang me. They probably won't hang me because it was an accident, but hey, I'm not trying to gamble with that.
That's
So you
true.
said you
Yeah,
said you
that's true.
thought that July and Roscoe weren't lawman material
Yeah.
where they were?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, I like I said, I haven't gotten to the part in the book.
No, you saw the show, though.
But in the show, when the show,
we can talk about the show all the way
just
through.
I don't know. I just don't. They get killed easy. You know what I mean? Roscoe doesn't even defend those kids. I feel like the little girl has more
Cojones than him, bro.
Yeah, than Roscoe does. And
The Roscoe's played more for
and-
comic effect, I think.
And then also July, when he goes with Gus, he doesn't even shoot one bullet. He doesn't seem like he doesn't know what he's doing.
Well, Gus did tell him to stay.
No, fair enough, he did, but he decided to go and try to help him out. But he didn't even like.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that they're soft.
There you go. That's
Okay, right. I don't disagree, but I will say this: anybody compared to Cole and Gus are soft.
Well,
They paint the characters like Jake and all them to be badass.
But
and
here's
then you see July.
Remember Dish? Dish to make him sound like he's a good cowboy.
Yeah. Well,
This sounds really messed up, but I also think that the locations and where they are is really important.
that's what I was gonna say.
So, Lonesome Dove is straight up on the border. Even now in modern times, you say, "Oh, I live in a border town." You kind of think like, "Oh," but you say, "Oh, I live in Arkansas." Oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
you
like
don't-
back in
like
1800s,
danger, right?
Yeah, you don't have to be a
Yeah.
badass to
Yeah.
be a sheriff and
Yeah.
fucking
Right, 'cause I'm sure
Portsmouth,
nothing-
Arkansas
nothing-
at
Well,
that
I mean,
time.
a lot of people say.
Oh, plus they got the army there.
There's not a lot of. Yeah, that's true. They have the army there.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of gunslingers. Like a lot of people are not really badass with their pistols. There's not a lot of them. Usually they just carry it for like security wise or.
Well, there's still
yeah.
Like the way they make it
bandits
sound
and stuff out there.
yeah, no, I know, but the way they make the book sound, there's not really a lot of sharpshooters. Like,
well, I think that was a realistic take on his part that, like mentioning that Jake, he could have just said that he was badass at shooting, and that could have just been part of his character. It would have been easier to just do that, but he makes it a point that it was an accident that he's viewed as this badass sharpshooter.
Yeah.
Like, because realistically, shooting a big ass Colt
It's
is
heavy.
not easy.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, even how he mentions what's his name Deet's gun, how heavy it is, that he doesn't wear it so much because it wears him down.
He says any other man would get worn down by it, but Deeds can walk around with it.
Can walk. See what I mean? Like
fucking Deeds, bro.
Like
Deeds is the shit.
How
My fucking favorite character.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and go out on a limb and say he's my favorite character. Deeds is the shit.
is cool too. I like Deets. I like the tracking thing of him. But like how back to the gun thing, like how you mentioned how heavy it is. Imagine trying to shoot that.
God damn.
Like you know what I mean? The recoil back of it. And
Also,
like,
too, like ammunition. I'm sure. I don't know, but you have to have a reason to shoot. So like these Rangers, they had so much practice with the Indians, with the bandits.
That's why they're very.
So like in Arkansas, I'm sure, like you said before, that they had the army there. I'm sure the army men were probably very well equipped. Very well equipped.
You're not gonna go in and try to rob the bank when you know the army's right there.
Yeah.
True, yeah. So
why would July have to be?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
some hot
I mean that's
But
true.
no, you're right though. Like
I think I would like to have my sheriffs have a little bit more cojones.
I agree. I
like,
agree on that, but
if I vote for someone, that guy better be like.
and also too, like even in his personal life, he's kind of soft.
That's another thing.
Like with his wife.
Mhm.
Yep.
She kind of going back to what you're saying, how like kind of women drive the story here.
yeah, in a big way.
Yeah, like she's the one that tells him like, you should go find Jake Spoon.
And take him too, so he
Yeah.
can be a man.
Yeah, and he's like,
So when she starts off being like, "That's a bad idea. Why would you want to go and find Jake Spoon?" To thinking in her head, "This is a good reason to get the hell away from him." Go after Jake Spoon and take Joe with you.
Joe.
So
why do you think that she didn't just immediately jump to the conclusion that okay, cool, I can dip out when you leave? Why do you think she was like so opposed to
I think she was okay with leaving the son too.
Well,
I think she just had to think for a second, like, oh, this is a good reason to get away from him.
Oh, but look when she's dying, she tells him like, what's his name died, and he's like, she didn't even make a reaction. She just turned around back and then left.
Yeah,
Like
she was pretty terrible.
She didn't care about her son.
Elmira's.
Oh, did she find out? She found out that.
Yeah, remember what's his name? Julian goes back and tells him that Roscoe.
Oh, because he finds her, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
he finds her
She gets to deboot and then faints.
and passes out.
And then finally July finds her, and all she can
that's
talk
right.
about is D.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He tells
He tells her not Roscoe.
She's like in the bed.
Well, because July goes through not Ogallala,
wherever.
wherever Clara is.
Nebraska.
He meets
Well, it's in
her,
Nebraska, but it's a little.
and then she's like, well, "What are you gonna do with your son?" He's like, "Well, I got to find out where my wife is first."
Yeah, give me that.
I don't know if you remember. It's kind of
I do
like
remember
all
that.
kind of like back to back to back to back. But yeah, it's complicated. And yeah, again, Peach. We talked about the women driving the story. Peach is the one who sends both the lawmen
to go
out of town.
Yeah,
she gets
that's
July to
true.
go, which I understand. Like being like, this guy shot someone and he's related to you. Like it sets a bad idea of who you are. You do look soft.
Was it her brother or his brother? Right.
His brother.
His brother, yeah.
And
The women in the series they're strong. They're really strong people. I can't think of one that's like you think of P.I. He's kind of like whatever. Roscoe, he's kind of like.
Well, he's a good blacksmith. Supposed blacksmith. That's what he is.
Oh yeah.
That's what they're saying. That he's a good blacksmith.
And but they're kind of just like filler characters. All the women have very strong, and even like Lorena. We haven't really talked much about Lorena. Like, I guess being a whore is not a very respectable thing to be.
Yeah.
But throughout the whole series, that she does a lot of she kind of drives a lot of the storyline, and when she gets captured, people respect her enough. Gus respects her enough to try to go save her.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't, if they didn't have any respect for her, if they didn't feel that she had any kind of worth, then they wouldn't. They'd just be like, whatever.
Well, because she technically wasn't part of their outfit.
Yeah, exactly.
So it did go. Yeah. It did say something about Gus as a character that he went and got her. But yeah, there's an interesting detail that I noticed that I didn't catch on the first read through or watch through of the show, but on this most recent kind of going through of it, I noticed something about Lorena that just struck me as really interesting. Right, So she, at the beginning of the story, you guys must have already seen this in the book, where they kind of explain that she's got a tendency to not talk.
Yes.
She's very quiet. It's like a defense mechanism
Yeah.
almost. She like doesn't, you know,
She
and it ends up
gives-
working in her favor because people want, you know, they want to chit chat with her, and she just will
Doesn't
just sit
want
there
to.
and not
She
say
even
anything.
returns the $10 that Gus gives her.
Well, we'll get to that, but when she gets caught later on by Blue Duck and his crew,
Mm-hmm.
there's that scene where the guy is on top of her and he's got the knife out and he's like, why won't she say something?
Oh yeah.
She reverts back to that defense mechanism of not saying anything, and it fucking infuriated them. And one of the guys, I don't remember if he shoots him or not, but he's like, get off of her.
Yeah.
I don't want her all cut up.
I think
I wouldn't want to
Yeah,
talk to, I don't want to
yeah,
talk to you
yeah.
either. And it was just an interesting, it's not even played on, it's just something I noticed. I was like, oh, she's a consistent character, because that's exactly how that character would behave in a situation like that. And then even after Gus saves her, which badass, Gus saved her.
No, that was I like that scene.
Even after she's
Especially with
safe,
the horse scene, like.
she doesn't talk, and she's still dealing with her PTSD
Well,
from it.
Yeah, well, I mean,
The whole book.
her life wasn't that good either.
Yeah, she does that. She did have it rough.
Yeah, she had it rough. So.
Anyway, I just thought that was a
And then like,
cool.
well, also the narrator in the
detail
book
over it.
says like how they're saying like how men just probably just want that company about woman is being present before they go on this journey, and they just want to talk. And she noticed that why do you just want to talk? Like, I'm not okay with that. Like, that's why she stays quiet most of the time. In the beginning of the book, she hasn't talked yet.
Mhm.
Like, she stays
It
quiet.
takes a while for you to realize.
Even Gus gives her a little bit more because all he wants is a chit chat. And she started realizing like, how come this dude does not like just want to like sleep with me and move on? Like,
Yeah.
he wants to spend time and talk, but Gus wants that presence of a woman, or any man does, like at that time, before they go on with a bunch of dudes on the journey for months.
Yeah, you don't talk to a woman for several months. Like,
Just hanging out with
just
dudes
hanging
for
out with
months.
them. Hanging out with a woman would be a big deal.
Yeah, and I mean, Diane, is it Diane Lane?
Diane Lane.
Yeah,
Diane Lane.
Fucking
She's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, perfect.
And,
Perfect.
also someone who comes
Casting.
by cattle wants to know, like, I heard about this beautiful creature or something that lives on Lonesome Dove.
Mm,
And
yeah,
then-
that's that whole
and
ass
then-
character that's
and-
not in those shows.
Yeah.
And
I
they
actually like
gave
that
him
in
the
the
wrong,
story.
they gave him the wrong directions.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't want him to go see her. Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, go way up north.
Yeah,
there.
go.
And he's like, I swear I heard there's a blonde
He-
beauty here.
yeah.
And he goes, that's my sister.
Oh yeah, and
Bro.
then PI's all like, wait a minute.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't catch
He's like,
up to it.
he's like, where'd you find a sister? Something like that. Oh man, dude, that was great.
That was a good one, dude.
Yeah, it's actually a shame how much happens in the book that they weren't able to capture in the show.
I love
Yeah.
this book
Yeah.
is awesome.
It's
bro.
so good.
It's kind of
And-
cool. It's kind of cool for like filmmaking, right? Like I wonder what thought process, like, what's his? How do you pronounce his last name?
Larry McMurtry.
Larry McMurtry. So whenever I'm sure he was working on the show, like I'm sure he had a huge part to play in what they should cut out. And I think so far from what I've read it or listened to the audiobook, I think it was pretty smart in the way that they did it.
I would agree.
There was, a whole scene like we mentioned earlier with, this one gentleman who wanted to buy, I think like 40 something odd horses from Gus and
From
Call.
Gus, yeah.
That's what makes them go to
And-
Mexico.
Right.
Yeah, that's what makes him go to Mexico.
Right.
Yeah.
And so reading it was like, oh wow, that's a cool tidbit that I would have liked to seen. But at the same time, does it help the story progress along?
Right.
Maybe not.
Well,
I think
it gave you the reason. Well, when I first saw the show, when they went to go get those cows, I thought like, oh, they're just stealing them because they're about to go on this journey, for months. They need fresh horses and stuff. And then when you see it in the book, I was like, oh, that's the reason why they
Right.
go.
But even then, like cutting it out and just saying, "Oh, that's the reason why we need to go because we're going to go on this journey," it explains it well enough, and you don't feel like, "Oh,
Yeah,
this
the
is a
story
weird."
I
doesn't
see
suffer
what you
without
mean.
that detail.
Right. And although it was kind of fun to
Yeah, it was funny. I think
Yeah.
it was funny.
one thing I do wish it would have been hard to do in the series is a lot of the stuff with the sign. So
I love that.
Yeah.
That's the side part. That
so
was my
like
favorite part.
the fact that all of the cattle hands were getting all butthurt about
Not having
oh
the
my
name.
name's not on
Yeah.
there. They're getting all upset. And Call's like, dude, this sign, bro. Like, dude, just
I know,
it is
like,
a recurring.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
Like just burn it for.
and then he writes the Italian word, and he doesn't know what it means.
and Carl's like, bro, they could say,
come inside and rob us. He's like, if any man can read that, and he's like, you're welcome to come in and rob us. And then Carl goes, I would like to shoot an intelligent man for once.
yeah, like all that stuff about the side stuff is just, I really enjoy it.
And then that one guy who goes and buys the horses gets what it says, and he goes and tells guys, so you must be the man who wrote that out there. He's like, yeah, and I don't forget what it means, and then Carl tells him, do you know what it means? He's like, whatever that gentleman said. Like,
yeah.
Gus doesn't even know what it says.
Yeah, dude, Gus is...
I like Gus. Gus is cool too, but Carl's still my favorite character.
Yeah.
Now, Dietz, on the other hand, he's badass.
Dietz is really great. Yeah.
I think Gus is easily the one that people just will gravitate towards. He's the most charismatic. He's the most fun. He's probably the most capable. It's almost like a cheat to be like, Gus is my favorite. Like, he's everybody's favorite, right?
Yeah.
He's the shit.
Yeah, he's cool, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's the...
But, yeah, Josh Dietz in the book and in the show is the, I think, only black character besides one of the outlaws that Jake runs into.
No, he is the only black character.
No, they're one of the outlaws in Jake's when he meets those guys before.
Yeah. Oh yes,
there's
yes.
There's another one, but
yeah, that's true.
I think that I think that's pretty noteworthy having Danny Glover come in and Dietz is so charismatic and they really respect him. And there's a small scene later on where somebody asked Dietz to do something. A call, I think, asked Dietz to do something, and one of the characters is kind of like annoyed, but he words it in a way to not annoy the guys because they're making a black guy in charge.
Yeah, so I think I just listened to it recently. I don't think he actually said it. It could be a different scene. But there was a time where like Call wanted to lead out, like they wanted, I think it was when they were in Mexico. He wanted
taking
to make
the horses back.
Yeah.
And he looks at Dietz like, I want them home safe. And like,
right. And so he's basically like telling Dietz without telling him like, yo, you're in charge.
Yeah.
And then Dietz was like, he already knew. And he's like, he went ahead of everybody else.
Yes.
And I think in the series, it's really cool that you don't get the hierarchy system of like, oh, there's, Dietz is down here and all of the other, characters are way up here. There's this level of respect that everybody has of Dietz. Mm-hmm. It's maybe not so prevalent in the book because I think that there still is that hierarchy.
It's more in the book. Yeah.
It's more aggressive, but I think it's actually not too bad in the book. But
no, he doesn't lean into it in an ugly way. No, but it is there. It is historically like they do have to.
Yeah, but you go back. They respect them.
He almost like always has to stroke the other guy's egos. He almost has to be like, you're still above him in a way. He almost has to like say things carefully to not be like, obviously Dietz is in charge, you morons. He's the fucking smartest guy here.
Yeah.
Right? He's the most capable.
I like the way they describe how he can smell really good. He can hear really good.
Oh, I think I saved one of the quotes from about Dietz. I'll find it, and you guys keep talking. I'll find it, and you can check it out if you want.
I don't know, man. I want to read more of the book. I can't wait to get to the adventure part where they actually.
You're not even there yet, right?
Yeah, I'm not even there yet. So.
Yeah, you're gonna love when they actually, because in the show with the whole like them stealing all the horses from Mexico, it was pretty cool in the show, but in the book it's it's really kind of.
I'm at the part where I left off when they found the two Irish guys when they were singing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're out there singing, and he's like, do they have birds over here? Remember it says that. When they're in Mexico because they thought we were chirping like birds.
Yeah.
Do you want to read this part about Dietz? Do you want me to read it?
I'll read it. Sure.
Okay, cool. So it's the highlighted blue stuff.
Okay. So this is straight from the book here.
This is from the book, yeah.
So, of course, when trouble came, Gus was reliable. But the only man in the outfit who was really much help as a planner was Dietz. Nobody expected Dietz to talk, which left him free to pay attention. And he paid careful attention.
Yeah, he did.
Often noticing things that Call had overlooked, or confirming judgments that Call felt uncertain about. Even Gus was quick to admit that Dietz had the best hearing in the outfit, although Dietz himself claimed to rely just as much on his sense of smell, a claim Augustus poked fun at.
I mean,
dude, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's such a cool detail about deeds that just you're just.
Well, it tells you that both Call and Gus
Respect
hold
them.
him in
Yeah,
high esteem.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would trust a man like that who knows how to smell that.
Can I tell y'all? I have to say this is a detriment to the show, but the part where PI is trying to go get help for Gus after he gets shot with the arrows, and he's like hallucinating because he's out of food and water,
Yeah.
and he like collapses in the desert, and fucking
Deeds.
Ghost,
Oh, yeah.
Ghost Danny Glover.
It was pretty cheesy.
It was so bad, bro.
It was pretty cheesy.
Don't get me wrong. It makes
Yeah.
sense. It makes sense that like.
Is that in the book?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But it's carefully because you would, if you were like sick, dying of thirst, you would like hallucinate.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean,
And I can imagine you just being like, Dietz would know how to get out of here. He'd be kind of at one of the four thoughts he would
I was
have.
about to say that. Yeah, I think in his mind constantly say,
Yeah.
what would Dietz would do?
What would
Dietz
Dietz do?
go?
Yeah.
And then Dietz appear on like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
It's not played as goofy in the book, but it isn't. That scene is in there.
Yeah, because P.I. is kind of like
He doesn't get
he's
it.
kind of a dumb guy.
Yeah,
he really is.
Yeah, he doesn't get
Yeah.
common sense.
Him and
he
Roscoe
doesn't
would get along.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, like I said, I was telling him the first time I saw it, I don't see that from PI. But then later on, you keep seeing it, and you see he doesn't get the jokes or the common sense.
Yeah, he's like a step behind.
Yeah, he's a step behind other
Yeah.
people. And I
He's
was like,
not an
oh,
extension.
okay. Then the book tells you more that he's not really all there. Like,
Yeah. I remember you said you wanted to talk a little bit about how everything was shot. And I did notice, because whenever we were first starting talking about this idea, we all got together and watched the first episode.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what started the journey of this. And because he's very technically minded as far as performance and recording and stuff. So you immediately noticed. Do you remember that? The credits came on, he was like, where are they filming it?
yeah.
Like, you were immediately like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like you picked up on a lot of stuff in the show that I wasn't paying attention to.
Yeah, I like to pay attention to like, okay, where was the story set? You know, in the storyline. So of course it was set in Texas, and I was paying attention to a lot of like the landscaping, and of course we live in South Texas.
Yeah.
So I couldn't help but notice that a lot of the scenes were of course outside. It was a lot of dry. we're very accustomed to that. You know, the scenery. I didn't see a lot of big trees, and so I just couldn't help but think this had to have been shot in South Texas. And sure enough, I looked it up, and it was shot in Seguin? Does that sound right?
That does sound right, but I don't remember.
Okay.
You'd be the one to remember.
Is it
I mean, I can
closer
look it
to
up.
Del Rio or
Yeah.
Laredo?
Maybe it was Del Rio.
I think wasn't it more closer to Del Rio, I think.
I think you're right. Maybe it was in some ranch in Seguin Del Rio,
Yeah.
kind of in our neck of the woods. And I think that's really awesome that they had the right mind to be like, yeah, let's go to Texas. It's in Texas.
Yeah.
They know that audiences are not dumb. Like, there's a lot of Texans that are interested in this type of story, and we would have noticed if the story was or if they were
We would
shot
have been able to
someplace
tell
else.
if it looks off.
Right.
And
exactly.
towards the ending of the show, you can tell the landscape looks completely different.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't just like this.
It's
They weren't just shooting
green
outside. They
mountains.
specifically,
Yeah.
You're right. They did a really good job with
Yeah.
that. Were there any other details that you wanted to mention about that? Because
Yeah, I
I
think,
actually
like-
find all that stuff fascinating.
Oh yeah, I think that I always like to think like, man, how do these actors stay cool? Because they're in this big old garb. They're not really sweating, and I'm just like, dude, I know they're hot.
Yeah,
I know Robert Duvall's balls are just soaked in sweat, bro. Like, there's no way. And Diane Lane, she just looks gorgeous, and she's in South Texas, bro. And probably they shot maybe in, the end of winter, maybe fall or in the spring. But, I'm sure they had their like RVs somewhere, AC full blast, And it was probably pretty expensive to shoot.
That was one of the first details that you mentioned.
Yeah.
When we had the show, and you
Especially-
were like, dude, this must have been.
Yeah, especially
lot.
like the Mexico.
It looks real good. I'm not really into but it looks real good. For being an '80s movie, I didn't think it was gonna be like. I thought it was gonna be like the old John Wayne.
Those
Western
looked great too for what they
but
were.
this one, I like it. I really do.
There's a few cases where you can kind of be like,
the cows. The store.
yeah, like,
Yeah. The
there's,
store, I was the store.
Yeah.
Let us know when you get to the lightning, because
Yeah.
goddamn.
yeah. And
I didn't
the
understand
snake,
that.
I didn't really get it either.
I thought that was like a big part. Like when I saw the cow getting electrocuted,
Yeah, I mean,
I was like,
they're gonna be a super
okay.
cow now.
Yeah. I was thinking like, okay, is this like
Surprise! It's a science fiction story.
right? That's kind of what I was thinking. And like the snake, right? When Sean gets bit with a snake. Like
Yeah, some of it's cheesy. That's probably the only thing about the show that I really didn't care for, and I love it. I would recommend it to a lot of people to try and watch it and whatever. But the thing I didn't like is just how, not didn't like, it was a choice, but it doesn't really fit the story. Is like how colorful it was, which I think some scenes can be, but that it almost stays colorful the whole time.
colorful in what way?
Like a lot of pinks, and the music is very plucky, if that makes sense. I don't know what the right.
What about like the
music-
characters?
What do you mean pink? Like there's like.
Well, okay, like if you see Blue Duck, the way Blue Duck looks, he's not colorful like flamboyantly colorful, but like you look at him, you go, that guy's not scary.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
You look at Monkey. Monkey doesn't look
Nah, he doesn't look
intimidating. Those
intimidating.
characters are supposed to be scary.
Yeah. That's what, okay, that's what
Yeah.
I get you now.
You know what I mean? And then like Gus kind of being kind of colorful, and Jake wearing nice shirts, they say that about him. I can kind of be okay with a lot of that stuff. But then, when they were trying to be scary about something like Blue Duck, it just came off as silly to me.
Yeah,
Blue Duck did, and the show did come out bad. He was either a villain or.
Yeah, he just seemed
Yeah.
silly.
Yeah.
they could have even taken Blue Duck out, and I would have been okay with it. You know,
Or make someone more aggressive and evil. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
because there's much more. My least favorite stuff is when Blue Duck's around, and there's really not much to it. Like
And
I thought it was gonna be more, especially like even when he dies.
Yeah,
like
I
I thought that was kind of sick actually.
No,
Him being like, that's
You're
my
not-
last.
yeah.
You're not gonna hang me. That's
You're not gonna hang
that's my
me.
choice.
I-
As him being goofy in the show, it's hard to like him, and he's a villain. You're supposed to dislike him, but he seems goofy in the show. In the story, he's not supposed to be.
Right.
You're supposed to be concerned that he picks up Lorena. You're supposed to be like, what the hell's gonna happen?
Yeah, he's a
You're not
big-
supposed to be like, oh, this is fucking.
I guess the only thing I do appreciate about it is like, yes, Blue Duck was a part of the story that, was slightly interesting, but it wasn't like a huge focal point. And so like, because I didn't really care for like the way Blue Duck looked and maybe how he acted, I'm glad it was just like a little sprinkle of Blue Duck because all the rest of the story was much more interesting to follow.
I wanted him to go out in a gunfight or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Or
I mean, he threw a fucking deputy out the window.
Him and Gus.
Right, but that was like a deputy in Blue Duck, not like Call, and that would have been cool to see Call and Blue Duck
Subversion
going
of
at it.
expectations.
There you
man.
go.
That's true.
It was.
But
this-
how much of that? I could argue that too much of that is not a good idea.
Well, the reason why I think that the Blue Duck arc is good is because the story starts off with them being legacy. They have a legacy already. Every character talks about, you guys are that when they go to the bar and there's a picture of them
Yeah.
behind the bar. So they already have this legacy. And in watch episode 1 again when they're having dinner at the beginning. Bolivar's whacking the bell and they're having their fucking chit chat. You're seeing the dynamics of everybody.
Yeah.
They ask why Call's gonna go patrol again, and he goes, "Well, you think he's looking for Blue Duck?" It kind of sets you up that you're supposed to think, "Damn, he's the fucking outlaw they couldn't get." So that's kind of why and they know he's still out there, raping and murdering, and he's got a gang. He's got natives with him. He's got all sorts of shit, and you go, "That's a fucking bad seed." Shit happens to Gus, and he's like, "Damn, he didn't get to see the end of him." So of course, Call watches it. That's kind of I was very okay with that. I was very okay with how Blue Duck went out. Again, goofy choice in the show to make him look and act like that. But
Yeah.
The vibe of them having this mission they couldn't complete and it bothering them, that makes sense. It's very realistic.
Maybe, now I'm thinking about it, Blue Duck, you first see Blue Duck when he's coming
Jake
down.
Spoon and Lorena are hiding in the storm. They have the tarp on them. And
Yeah.
she's like, "Did you see? That was Blue Duck."
Yeah. Did
Oh,
you see?
okay.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
he doesn't.
I was gonna say that.
So-
I remember she saying that. Did you see? Yeah.
Yeah, that's Blue Duck. Yeah.
So I'm just trying to think, like, if I were a filmmaker, how would I have tried to make Blue Duck a little bit more intimidating? And I forgot about that, but I was thinking that the first time you see Blue Duck is whenever...
The first
he's on
scene
the-
he has, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you are correct. That's the
Yeah.
first time you see it.
Right.
Yeah.
But the first time you really get a full interaction with him is because he's up on that ridge and he's kind of slowly...
See, that's
And
kind
that's-
of suspense.
Sort of.
Yeah,
but
Maybe
I
it could have
think,
been shot differently.
Yeah.
I think it
It's
could have been
hard,
shot a little
yeah.
differently. You know, like I think that
Trying to
first
get
scene
some
where they see
water.
Blue Duck, that's kind of intimidating, and maybe sprinkle that more in to because that first scene when he's like coming off the ridge and like, you know, you just come off of this fun little playful scene with Gus and Lorena, and he's all in his water and his underwear and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, it didn't make me feel like Blue Duck is really intimidating. It just seemed like, oh, they're just these two guys that kind of know each other. I didn't really get a sense like, you know, like in a western,
Oh,
like
you're right. Yeah,
"Da-da-da," you know,
yeah.
"Da-da-da."
You're not. You're not.
It was more casual.
Yeah, you're not alerted right away.
Right. I would have been more afraid of Blue Duck had Gus been like, saw him be like, Lorena, I need that gun right now. I see.
Hey, stop the chit chat.
Yeah.
Grab the gun. I
Go
need it.
grab, I need
Yeah.
it right now. He's
Yeah,
just
'cause
like,
he could have been.
And the way he was just chilling in the rock,
yeah.
it was like
That scene though, I mean, not for Blue Duck's favor, but that scene kind of tells you everything you need to know about Gus,
Yeah, he's looking like.
right? Like that's such an example of the type of character he is. Just that he's having fun hanging out with Lorena,
He's like,
whatever.
I couldn't warm it up enough for you.
And then she goes,
When he was drinking it, I couldn't.
oh
warm it
yeah, he
up.
even like spits jokes at Blue Duck. He's like, you mind if I get water or
Oh,
whatever?
yeah.
Go ahead.
And he's like, I can't warm it
up
for you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just like to think, how could that be changed, right? Like because Gus is like that, and you can't change him, and you put any situation. I like that about his character, but I also would have liked. I'm curious. I guess I don't know. I wouldn't have liked this, but I'm kind of curious.
I agree with you though.
Had his demeanor completely had changed when he'd seen Blue
He's
Duck.
joking
like more
around, yeah.
serious, more.
Right, he's
more,
like joking around, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
he's like, oh shit.
This is serious.
This
yeah.
is serious. I can't
Yeah.
be joking around. And that, to me, is scarier than just
seeing
Blue
Gus
Duck.
Being afraid.
be like, well, not
Not
afraid,
afraid,
but
but more like
like, well, I gotta take shit serious right now.
Yeah.
That would have been very
like
effective.
alert, more of alert.
That would have been very
You
effective.
wouldn't even need to see Blue Duck. I don't even care about that.
Oh, you just see
To me.
Gus all of a sudden just paying attention to the ridge, just his
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah,
and like
just like
he
that.
just stopped saying stuff. Dude, you should have fucking directed that. I would have been
That's
like,
actually
what the fuck is he looking at?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, like that would have been
But
terrifying.
remember, that's Gus's character. He's a jokester. He's,
Right. And I get that because
And he needs
at
to-
the same time it's like
He's saying, what could you have done without writing it too different to make
Yeah,
you guys
I know.
scary?
Yeah, I get your point.
because
Well, just don't make him look stupid. They made him look dumb.
That's my problem. They
But-
didn't
but-
make him look intimidated. He doesn't look villain enough.
but
You know, 'cause can you
film
imagine-
it in a way that is like if you think of like really kind of scary movies out there like It, right?
Yeah.
You know, he's a clown. It's a clown.
Right.
It's a straight up clown.
Yeah.
But you shoot it in a way that makes it somewhat terrifying. You
Yeah.
know, that movie was done also, I think, in the 80s.
Yeah, it was
right?
in the 80s.
That was
And-
also a TV series.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a really colorful character, right?
Correct, yeah.
But
Well, you
you
could argue
shoot
if
it
you watch
away.
it now, people wouldn't think it's scary.
Of course.
No, but
of
I
course.
know what you. I get you now.
Yeah.
Like
You know, so like
it should have been more.
So-
Gus should have taken more seriously the approach of Blue Duck coming as being the jokester.
Well,
of him.
more
Yeah,
so,
maybe.
more
No,
so,
because then you'd
he
be
would
like,
have hated.
yeah, no, then you'd be more
Yeah.
like, oh shit, like Gus is being serious now. Like that jokester of him, this guy's is a serious deal.
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Gus is not joking.
Yeah, this
no
is a
more.
guy they were chasing forever.
Yeah, I know. They're
Texas
trying to get him.
Rangers.
Yeah.
But I think if Larry were here with us chilling, he'd be like, he'd go back to that. No, that's not Gus. Like,
Yeah.
yes, that's a big scary guy, but that's not Gus.
Well, see, okay, so in the show,
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
what I was saying, the detriment to the show is it being super colorful. Like, there's that scene where they do mention Blue Duck can go a long distance without stopping for water. Like, it's a weird detail that they kind of put into him. So, you
Show
know,
how tough he
Lorena,
is.
yeah, well, that's true. That would be, you would have a hard time trying to catch him. If he didn't ever have to stop for water. And you're
Yeah,
out there.
he never takes a break. He's
Yeah.
constantly on the move.
Yeah, constantly on the move. But when you see Lorena, her lips are all chapped up, and it's Diane Lane, and she's getting water, and he like shoves her face in the water, and you can tell the actor's like trying to make his voice sound tough, and then he goes and lays down. He's eating like jerky, and he's like, you know what I do is I'll cut a hole in your gut and I'll string it up, and he says this stuff, and you're like,
that doesn't.
there's a way that hearing, if you're some chick that's been kidnapped and you have your captor being like, if you try to leave, I'm pulling your gut out and you're gonna watch the animals eat it. There's a way you can do that and be like, that's fucking scary.
Yeah.
Did any of y'all feel any concern?
No.
No, and it's because of the way it was shot.
Yeah.
Brightly lit.
I really think it's the character himself too. Blue Duck. Doesn't look scary. He doesn't look
Wait,
intimidating.
are you talking
No.
about the way it is in the show, or are you talking about the character himself?
No, in the show, the way
The way he looks is terrible. It's a bad choice.
I don't think he looks villain enough.
I mean, I think he looks scary. I think that, like you said, like kind of how he portrays himself and how like that was so kind of colorful in his little monologue about the coyotes eating all that.
Yeah.
You know, when you're tough, you don't have to say you're tough. You know, and I think that had he not opened his mouth and you look at that character, I actually think that looks tough.
I don't
But
think he does.
it's like almost like a big burly dude, right? Has a little voice like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you look at him like, dang man, that's a big dude. But he opens his mouth, you're like, oh, this is a little, you know what I mean? So I think that probably plays into more of like his looks, and you're like, oh, this guy doesn't look the part. But I think because the way he carries himself and because of stuff like that, that's why he's perceived as not scary. Because I think he actually I would like to argue that face value, put him up on a poster with, a little bit of darkness to it. Yeah, I think it'd be scary.
I think he has the potential to be scary as a character. I feel like the choices of the actor and like them picking him as the actor, and then the choices he made as a performance were just subpar.
True.
That's just my opinion.
That was so
I don't have to
good.
like everything about the show, but I did not like that. And then all the gang. Okay, so there's that scene when Gus
Monkey.
is getting chased by
Yeah.
them, and then he kills his horse and he hunkers down behind the horse because everything's flat,
Yeah.
and they're shooting at him. He gets behind the horse, and there's
He
the
uses
one
a
guy
knife like this, dude. Like
that's literally the knife he would have used.
yeah, this thing's crazy. That was crazy. My
Yeah.
bad. Go back.
No, yeah, and he does all that, and then there's the one guy, and then there's a standoff where he's behind the horse, and you think he can't outlast all those guys, and then the one guy comes out and he's like acting like a chicken, and you're like, why did they do that? They're doing everything they can to make all the characters that are legit bad
Make him
look silly.
and dumb. Yeah.
They could have made the guys that Jake Spoon runs into, they could have made them seem a little more intimidating, but it almost felt like they were trying too hard. I don't know. That's just my.
What was
opinion.
the main guy that those bandits that they were with that were trying to steal money from the bank? What was that main character's what was that character's name?
I don't remember.
The blonde guy.
That's how little he fucking even mattered.
I actually thought he did pretty well. I think
They look more like
Trevor.
evil bandits than the
Yeah.
Indian guys did.
No, the black dude in the Outlaws, he looked scary.
He was just,
I don't remember
Because
much.
he was like stoic and,
Yeah.
remember at the very beginning of Jake's interaction with them, they're gonna steal a horse, they're gonna do something, and he's like, are you coming, Jake? And he's like, if you watch me, you'll see, and because he doesn't want to do it.
he does.
But that guy just doesn't say anything. Doesn't he said the less he says, the scarier he seems.
That's right. That's right.
That's true.
Yeah, you don't need to speak much.
And he looks, and you line him up, and you go, oh, that guy looks.
Yeah,
tough.
he looks.
I wouldn't fuck with him.
I mean, I thought that the main bandit that he was with,
Yeah, he
I
did.
thought he was actually really scary because his unpredictability is what scared me.
Oh yeah.
He almost seemed like a psychopath. Like,
That character is scary again in the show. I didn't think they did a good job. That's the worst part of it. They didn't make any of the bad guys look that scary. Seem scary to me.
yeah. But the cool thing though is that I don't think there was a main focus. I think
No,
it was a lot of like the character development, the Newt, his journey.
Yes.
Robert Duvall, Robert Downey Jr. or Robert Downey Jr. Tommy Lee Jones.
That would be great. Robert Downey Jr. as Jake Spoon. Dude, let's make it now. Let's make it.
Make a new version.
Yeah. I think the
Lonesome
cast
Dove
was
featuring Iron Man.
from Lonesome Dove to Montana in 7 seconds.
Yeah. What's the actor that plays Pepper Potts in that?
I don't know her name.
Oh gosh.
She's Goop, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow as Lorena.
We were mentioning off screen that we were talking about how and I don't know if you mentioned it, how you could take this story.
And
Oh, yeah.
imply it to something else. What were you saying? Not just
How
not.
did you word it? I don't remember how you said
So if you took the backdrop of old Western out of the story, kept the characters' vibes and
Same
energy's the
story.
same,
Yeah.
and you just repainted them with a different type of brush. That's a very long-winded way of saying you can make these characters work in any kind of backdrop. So you can make them knights. These could be
Veterans.
King Arthur's knights.
Yeah.
You know,
War
going on this
heroes.
journey. They could be World War II. You could Vietnam
I
or
see.
something.
I-
It would still have to be like a dangerous kind of untamed territory. This could be. You could make it a science fiction story in a way. The characters going to some perilous
those
journey
cows
to a
get
different
shot.
planet, and like the relationships, the son not knowing who, you know, who his dad actually is, and whatever. And I think that's what for me is the most interesting. I think art you lean more towards you really like the historical
The
aspect
historic
of
part
it,
yeah.
and I'm kind of like that's it's a cool part. Who doesn't like old western shit? But that's not what makes the story good. I don't think.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Just the way they're living, I like that. Like the day of that time, living that way, how hard and difficult it was. You know what I mean? Like, just beans, biscuits. That's all you ate. There's like not a lot
Simple.
of meat.
It's a simple life, and I think that
It's more about surviving. Like
Yeah.
directly just surviving, eating, not getting killed, shot, getting the disease. Because medicine wasn't big back then time.
yeah, oh yeah,
So like I guess I just like that. Like it kind of he did so good about making sure that the way back in that time was living was on the book. Like there was not, it was all about how it was tough back in the time.
you really got that sense
And
that
that's what I loved about the book. It's so detailed. When he's drinking his whiskey, how detailed he goes into how smooth it is, kind of cools him down and stuff like that after a heart. Like I like that. I don't know why.
This is what's crazy is I almost feel like we should have shot this after you guys finished the whole book entirely.
I know
Because the only details that you've got from the book and what you appreciate, it's a good thing that you appreciated, but it's only this much of it.
I understand
Yeah.
that.
And-
That's what I can't wait to get to the adventure
So
part.
if you see like how the book's actually written, it's, dude. If you told me the show never existed and you just showed me the book, I would have been like, this book is in my top 10 favorite books.
I've been like I said, I've already started reading.
Easily.
I love it.
And I don't think people would, if that have read it, would disagree. They'd be like, yeah, that's a fucking great book.
I think people who read would love this book.
yeah, it's I mean it's a devotion. I mean look at that. You know that's a devotion. I'm up to chapter. I'm at actually like right here. So I've only gotten not even.
They haven't even gone on the drive yet, right? And
They haven't gotten to the drive yet.
That's how much it takes.
I know. Dude, I really.
There's like fun. There's like weird characters too that you run into that they obviously had to cut it out for the show. But like Roscoe, when he's going to find July, he meets this. I think her name's Louisa or something, and he sees her trying to get a stump out of the ground, and he's like, I don't really want to help, but he just doesn't want to like contribute to helping, so he doesn't want to help. But he goes there. He's like, well, maybe I'll have a place to sleep tonight if I go help her, and he does, and they hook up.
Wait. Holy shit.
Roscoe. Yeah.
Oh, Roscoe does.
Yeah, Roscoe.
Oh, I thought it was July.
No,
Roscoe. So he goes and helps her, and she's like, what are you doing? She goes, explain to me what you're doing again. And he's like, well, I gotta go. How he I gotta go find. That's how I always read it.
July.
He's like, well, I'm trying to find my sheriff who's looking for this guy who killed somebody in town, and then his wife left, and I'm trying to tell him that his wife left, and she's like, so you're trying to find an outlaw who don't want to be found, and then to tell the sheriff to find his wife who don't want to be found. What are you doing? Like she says
She
she
calls
says to
him
him
out.
like a
Yeah.
and she's like stay with me. That's crazy. When you see Roscoe with the show, you're like, what a doofus. But she's like, you got nothing to go back to. You can help me around here. And they eat cornbread and they hang out, and you go, this is a weird turn that this story takes. July and Joe meet a guy who's collecting bugs. He's like an entomologist or whatever, and the way they meet him, I think, is he's looking for his specimens, or something happens where he's like trying to get his equipment, and he's just like, I think I'm just gonna become a preacher. So he like gives up on the insects, and he's talking to Joe, and he's like, explaining why he wants to go and do that, and he even offers July to take the kid with him. And it's just weird little things like that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And there's all sorts of stuff that they couldn't put in the show that
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited to kind of read up
dig
on.
into it. Yeah.
Me too. I can't wait. I mean, the beginning is great. I like how detailed they go about the sign. Like
Yeah.
it matters so much. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's-
Like, and then Carl's like, "Come on, up with the sign. Like you're making my guys get in a fight." Like,
Yeah, that the whole like we don't because when I was watching the show, I was like we don't rent pigs. I didn't really understand what that meant. I was like, well, I don't get it.
yeah.
And then going through reading the story, it's like, yeah, you could rent a horse to like help you move, maybe get a stump out, you know, of the ground, or you could rent a mule or whatever.
Yeah.
Carry some
And
packs. Yeah.
you know, the fact that Gus wanted to put we don't rent pigs, it made sense. Like, yeah, that's if somebody actually wanted to rent a pig, and then Call was like, dude, what the hell? Like, why would somebody want to rent
a pig?
pigs for?
Yeah.
And then, you know, Gus makes some, you know, smart aleck
He
remarks.
loves those pigs. I like how he said, like, those pigs are smarter than them cows and horses. You know?
Can I ask you guys something? And this is just because like how I look at stories like this, I'm always like trying to think a step ahead. And a lot of stories you can figure out how it's going to end, what the arc is going to be. Like had I just started this story and not seen it all the way to the end, I would have thought Woodrow's going to admit that he's going to have this father-son moment with Newt.
Yes.
You think that's how
even in the show, yeah.
You get the idea he's going to do that.
Yeah,
and
in the show, it's like, picture towards the end, he's gonna
So I'm
say,
always
"I'm
like
your
trying to
father."
find like where the thing's gonna land and what the thing's gonna do, what the things represent, you know. And I noticed that Peach, whenever Peach approaches July, she has the rooster, and she kills it. And I think it's sort of it is trying to subtly symbolize how July is emasculated by his wife.
Right.
You know, so there's all these little like symbolisms that are in there. What do you guys think the pigs meant?
Oh.
It's a pretty good one.
So,
Because I'll say, I don't know.
well, I'd like to. I think it's a great question. My first initial thought, not thinking too much on it, is that it's basically Gus and Call. Like, there's two pigs. Those are these two guys. You know, I think there are these older guys that are maybe thought of as irrelevant. Pigs are not necessarily thought of as a relevant source of, you know, importance in cattle or whatever.
They don't make
So-
leather, they don't make milk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but here they are. They're still
No
going,
wool.
and they make it all the way from Lonesome Dove all the way to.
That is kind of brilliant.
Like that, like how else?
It might be, because there's two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is two.
But
of them.
that's just my initial thought. I think that'd be fun to.
I was just
thinking
thinking
about.
like more like how Gus protects them, thinking like, well, I think these are dumb animals or stupid. And Gus feels like, oh no, these guys are smart. Y'all the ones who are dumb and thinking like they're stupid. They're actually intelligent pigs. And like you said, they made it all the way through the damn journey without getting eaten by a coyote or getting eaten by them.
They're just getting
or
lost.
getting lost.
So I think that's also brilliant. So I think that Gus maybe sees the good in those, right?
Yeah.
I think he also sees the good in unexpected things like Newt and Lorena. So, you know, I think that's a cool, you know, we could speculate.
Yeah,
I highly doubt. I think Blair just wrote it in there, you know.
I
But
don't
maybe,
think so.
Maybe
To have-
I don't think so, because every detail that he puts in
is specific.
is
and very-
specific. It's
yeah.
like the
Yeah,
fact that
and
you
even
learn
in the
early
beginning
on.
of the book, the pigs are mentioned.
And you learn early on that like little details. He's not wasting words. There's a lot of words in there, but he's not really wasting them. And
No.
he's trying to examine the characters by throwing situations at them and to see how they would react, and also details about him, like they mentioned Jake Spoon. He likes fancy shirts. Everyone else is wearing something raggedy. Dietz his pants are all quilted
Yeah.
because he's patched them up so many times. And they talk about the hat. One of the guys' hats is all gross and dirty and whatever. But Jake doesn't roll like that, right?
Yeah.
And what does that tell you as a character about him? That he's the one that stands out. That he's more interested in finery. He's more interested in the stuff that's on the surface.
Yeah, materialistic.
Yeah,
You know, with his relationship with Lorena, he only gets mad at them for not catching Blue Duck right away because that's his woman. But then when they hang him, when
he forgets about her.
he doesn't. He's like, who are you talking about?
Yeah, who's her?
That's how little she meant to him.
Yeah.
He didn't.
And he might have just liked her because she was beautiful, because she was companionship. She had never had any intention of taking her to San Francisco, even though that's all she wanted.
Yeah. And
so that
Kinda
little
goes
detail
into-
of him liking fine shirts, it could just be an interesting detail about a character, but I don't think so. I think it's supposed to kind of tell you that he's surface level. He's
there's not much to him.
there's not much to him.
Yeah.
He's not complicated. He's
You know,
not
compared to
he's
like
not
a
a thinker
character
like Gus. He's not like a
compared to like a character like Dietz, where kind of going off like the clothing, where Dietz has something that he owns and he makes sure that it lasts.
Surprise for
You know, and so I think that is a little detail very similar to like Jake Spoon, where Jake Spoon thinks of finer things, Dietz sees something that is a use, and he's gonna see that through.
Yeah.
And you know, you see that in his character, right? Like he appreciates.
Well, he's pragmatic. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very
Even in the
resourceful.
book, he saves a cigarette with whole cigarettes, but he puts his sewing kit in there
Yeah.
to hold, to sew his stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't use it for cigarettes.
Well,
or
I think
anything like
the
that.
other thing about
He uses every item for purpose.
Yeah.
well, I think that's just because he's capable in the wilderness, but I think there's another aspect of him that we're missing as far as Beat's outfit in particular. It's his like Union uniform.
Yeah, it's
It's
his
him fighting for his freedom.
Yeah, it's also good.
So like
He's also wearing
that's
too, so-
important to him. So yeah, I think there is that, you know, he doesn't want to let something go if it has use to it, but it also represents freedom for his people.
Everything has meaning, and he's very observant, kind of like that little.
Yeah, because
thing that
he doesn't.
that we had. He's
He
very
doesn't speak,
observant.
and he's listening. He's watching everyone.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, Dietz is for sure my favorite, dude. I love Dietz.
I think he's probably the most intelligent character, probably in the whole.
He probably is.
Yeah, but the fact that he's a man of color just doesn't give him the opportunities that he would.
They even
You know,
said that at
imagine-
his funeral.
Yeah, but I mean,
Imagine-
they do. Yeah.
Yeah, imagine if Dietz was in the position of Call, like. I highly
was able
doubt,
to climb the ranks of the Texas Rangers.
right.
Yeah.
You know, I highly doubt. You know,
He would be above. I think he would be above both of them. I mean, he's a scout. He can
I
track.
think he probably could have.
He can listen. He can smell from far. Like, come on. Like, and maybe Call and Gus survived because of him. Like he can, because the way he tracks people, he knows where it's coming from.
yeah, and in any instant you could die. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly,
You could get,
yeah.
You know, there's that scene where Dietz goes and patches up Jake Spoon. Had Dietz not been there, Jake Spoon would have probably died of, you know, some kind of infection in his
Yep.
finger. He probably, or maybe
And
lost his
Lorena
hand.
probably would have died also.
Yep.
Yeah. So you know, Dietz was there. He just it just like nonchalant, like, oh yeah, let me
Yeah,
check this out.
even Jack was like, so where's Dietz? Get Dietz. Like Dietz would know what.
He's sweating. He's like, oh, don't worry, Dietz is here.
Yeah,
I'm
Dietz,
gonna-
yeah.
It's like,
They get comfortable.
They
Like,
hold
Dietz
him
is
in high
here.
regard,
Oh
yeah.
man, like.
Oh, and whenever he's patching him up, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but like, the fascinating thing about that is whenever he just, you see the actor do it. You think Danny Glover's, you know, he comes up on the scene and he looks around and he helps her, he tells her what to do, and he goes, you probably want to camp on the other side of that river.
Yeah.
Because it's going to rain tonight, and it's
Yeah.
going to be twice as hard to get out of here because your camp's on the wrong side.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's little things,
That is so quiet.
yeah, little deets.
Yeah.
Little Dietz,
Yeah.
and he's aware.
And remember when the kid gets killed by the snakes? He blames himself.
He does, yeah.
I should have known that the storm would have
Would rile him up.
Rile him up and
Yeah.
have more snake. We should have got a different trail.
He's hard on himself like that. Even I'm sure I guarantee you that's not something you think about. I highly doubt that's something you think about. I wouldn't. I mean, what do I know? But even back then, that's such a hard thing to detect.
But
How would you have known that?
That was his crew. That is his job.
Yeah, he felt like he wasn't. He should have just noticed because he always notices.
That would.
Yeah, true.
That is his job as a
I guess
scout.
his wording though.
As a tracker.
He
You know
shouldn't-
what I
It
mean?
was
I
just
guess
to
he
illustrate
beat
that he
himself
felt. Yeah, he just felt
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
that it happened.
Yeah, because that's such a hard thing to.
Well, I mean,
I wanted to-
if you really think about the storm coming through, it's gonna rattle up things. You know what I mean? Like.
I wouldn't have thought of that. A nest of water moccasins might be here. I would not
Yeah.
have ever thought of that because of a storm. You'd be considered
Specifically
flooding.
water moccasins. Like,
Yeah.
it's just-
Okay,
he was just beating himself. up.
Can I say something about leadership? I was thinking about this earlier, right? We've all been in both positions of being led by strong people and trying to behave as strong people to get people to follow you. I think rule number one in leadership is to actually be capable and not shirk your duties and not whatever, because you're gonna find it a lot harder to follow a leader who you don't think is capable of the job. You know, you're gonna not take him as seriously. That happens all the time. And you've been in leadership positions and you've had strong bosses, right?
Yeah.
And I think guys, I don't know, this is kind of off the topic of deets for the moment, but I thought about like why their friendship and why them running the Hat Creek Cattle Company is they have all the loyalty of the dudes. There's nobody that questions neither Gus nor Call. You never see it.
No.
They might go at each other a little bit, but they don't ever go like.
Yeah, there's no.
They don't really question him. I mean,
Yeah.
The only time you ever kind of see it is Dish being like, I just said I'd help, but then he goes off to see Lorena again or whatever. But I think there's something to be said about writing these characters, the fact that they're older, all that stuff.
And the respect they get.
I think that they're all willing to die for their men. I think.
Yeah.
I don't get the feeling that Call would step the fuck up for all his guys. Do you not think that?
I'm just trying to think about it, and I think I agree. But I always like to turn things on its head, and I would also like to argue that perhaps he wouldn't. He is a flawed person. We kind of discussed that, so I think it would be surprising. So I agree with you, but I also, like we said, that he's a flawed person.
I mean, he beat the shit out of that guy that was fucking with Newt.
Yeah, I think he...
To the point where Gus lassoed him off of him.
He respects him.
Yeah.
They respect him a lot. Even because he knew the way he talks about him. Being around, he calls him captain, he gets excited. Remember when
They all call him captain.
Yeah, well, I mean, when Newt calls him more captain, just hearing his Henry go off, I knew that Captain was not that far from me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He felt comfortable. He felt okay already. Like, okay, I'm almost safe. I remember he was going on that ride with his horses.
Yeah.
Like, I right away just shows you the presence that he has. Like, the people respect him and like.
I think during the show, they don't make any bad decisions. From like a personal level, Call makes a bad decision not telling the news.
Jake taking Lorena was probably a bad decision.
I think so.
Right, but
that was
as far as the task at hand, from them going from point A to point B, I don't see like a lot of logistical errors that they made. There was things that happened that threw wrenches into the kind of threw
unforeseen things.
But whenever there's a task at hand, they make the decision, they follow through with it, and I think that's to your point about how they really respect him. That's why all of them follow, and also I think age too plays a big part.
I was about to say that back in the day too. I think you respected the older.
Well, I don't think now. I don't think that aspect of being a human being goes away. I think I now when you're a young cat and some older guy's telling you some shit, you don't really care. But I'm not necessarily old, but I'm not young anymore. And hearing older people when they've been through some shit, and I listened a little bit deeper than I would have before.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we should probably take a break here in just a second.
I'm with you on that, yes.
But I wanted to read this other kind of piece where it's Gus. It's Call talking about Gus, and I just thought it was kind of cool. So he worried about that possibility most of the way home. Not that Gus wasn't competent so far as sheer ability went. Gus was as competent as any man he'd ever known. There had been plenty of times when he'd wondered if he himself could match Gus, if Gus really tried. It was a question that never got tested because Gus seldom tried. As a team, the two of them were perfectly balanced. He did more than he needed to, while Gus did less.
Yeah.
They're
perfect.
The writing of this is just so good,
dude, it's badass.
Oh,
yeah, let's go ahead and take a breather. Yeah, no, finish your point. Then
my favorite part was when he's telling the Irish guys, he's all, what's the owner of the ranch or the field?
Flores.
Flores, he's all, if y'all still here in the morning, Flores is not going to be happy seeing y'all here. He's all, especially what's going to happen tonight, because they're still in their fucking cattle and horses. I love that so much, dude. He's all, he's not going to be happy in the morning when he sees y'all here in his cattle, oh God. And he's all, leave them a couple, they might leave us alone. when they're running away,
Yeah.
they're running away with the I'm sorry, dude. I love the books. I think the book is a great book.
It's way better.
Yes, it is way better than the show. Like I really.
Yeah.
Like,
It's one of those. I don't think that's the case for all movies, where if it's based on a book, that the book's always better. There's a case to be made that like The Godfather, the book is good, but the movie's way better.
See, I have not read the book yet, so.
Yeah.
But
So there's
anyway.
like cases where that's not true, but
there's some
sure.
characters that that match up pretty well. Like they describe Lorena as this gorgeous woman.
Yes.
And
Diane Lane.
Diane Lane's gorgeous.
Yeah.
in the show.
In the show, yeah.
And then I think Gus, the way that it's written, Robert Duvall is
he like figured that character
like,
out.
remember talking about
he's either
voices?
like right here.
It fits him perfect.
Oh, yeah.
He's Gus.
Yeah.
Like even if I was reading a book and I saw the show, and then I'll be like, okay, yes, that he makes a perfect Gus.
But before I turn the camera off, would you guys agree that Gus might actually be the most charismatic character in fiction? Is he in the running at least?
Yeah, for sure.
He's
For sure.
very charismatic.
Yeah, he is. He is.
I'm trying to think,
You could put him in almost any situation, he would just be.
He can even be Iron Man. And it would fit perfect. Because just the cockiness and the way he is carried.
That would be funny.
Yeah, I mean, I think Iron Man and
he's like that. No,
and
he's
Gus have a lot of similarities.
Dude, that's actually a good point.
They
kind of have that same like just
that witty like.
Yeah, there you go. That witty
joke
attitude.
That you never turn that jokey part off.
Even if the guy who's being sad, he was still joking about it. Even when
even on his deathbed, he was joking.
Yeah, even when he was about to die, he was joking like. That's him, you know what I mean? I can see him being that, like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, let me, go ahead. Alright, we took that little break. We're gearing up towards the end of the episode. Of course, this is the type of story that we can talk
for hours.
We can talk
so
about
much.
it forever.
There's so much.
So anybody that took the time to get here and even watch the show at all,
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
You guys are for real Lonesome Dove fans.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah. So leave in the comments some stuff you guys think. Maybe anything that we should have touched on that we didn't, or whatever, or why you thought Blue Duck was fucking awesome, or whatever controversial thing you might want to say. Just throw it in there. But we're just going to touch on a few things and then kind of wrap up because we've been kind of talking all day about this. But yeah, I did personally. I wanted to talk about Clara as a character. I think she's one of the more complex characters because these are legacy characters. These are people that that they've already had a broad backstory before we see these events take place. So her relationship with Gus, the fact that she knows Call also, and then
true, yeah.
Throughout the story she meets July, and she's a great character. And Jake Spoon talks about running into her, so like she comes up a lot.
Very well respected.
Yes.
They definitely respect her. And there's a who's the actress Angelica Huston?
I don't know, but something. Yeah, I know she's famous.
She's famous.
Yeah,
That scene that I saw last night, because again I rewatched that last episode. Whenever she's kind of talking shit to Woodrow,
she does not like him at all.
Can you blame her? What is her relationship with? This is. I'm trying to find like the right way to say like what I think their thing is. She almost feels like the woman that knows that her man gets into too much shit with his best friend, that she thinks the best friend is bad for him.
So she's thinking that Call's bad.
Call's bad for Gus.
That's so funny to think about.
Yeah, I don't even.
Because I think it's the other way around.
Yeah, I feel like Gus is bad for Call.
But maybe not, because I mean, this Gus doesn't want to go on this cattle drive.
Right?
He don't want to do none of this.
That is very true.
Yeah. Calls the one like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
He's the innovator. He's the ambitious one.
Yeah.
He's a dreamer.
So
Claire.
Maybe you're right. Claire's onto something.
It's just speculation.
You think Claire's mad that the fact that she didn't marry him because she knew that he was a runaway man? Like he was.
She didn't want to compete with Gus either. Or with
Call.
Call.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Also in the book, it shows that she has a little tough life too, and she grows up, being rough and managing her own. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and go ahead.
she doesn't seem like the kind of girl that is afraid to get her, dirt in her fingernails.
Yeah.
She's the kind of woman that's like, hey, she's kind of a cowgirl.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's a cowgirl through and through.
And she's like she doesn't want a man who's gonna constantly leave out of her life. That's why I guess she settles with the horse.
The guy that he's an invalid.
Yeah, and supposedly he was like, even that naming Gus says like he was a coward and.
Yeah, he said he was kind of like an idiot.
Yeah, like he would.
Here's the thing: Gus would have just said that though.
Because he has jealousy of.
Yeah. That doesn't necessarily mean that guy was a
they didn't really
asshole
talk.
or
Well, I mean,
anything.
I don't know if they talk about him more in the book, but.
I'm just saying, there's a thing called it's like a story thing, an unreliable narrator. I'm not saying that he necessarily is, but you have to take into account who the characters are, and then also what they say. So like. You can see Jake Spoon kind of try to convince Lorena to go somewhere, but he's kind of sleazy and you don't necessarily take him at face value of what they're saying. So Gus might have just been being like,
jealous,
he married some dumb fucking idiot, and it's just because he's mad that he's not.
Well, he doesn't get hit by a horse in the head, so
that could happen to anybody.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That wasn't that. We don't know what happened, but yeah, he doesn't say very nice things about. I think his name is Bob or whatever, but.
I think it's Bob. Yeah.
But yeah, no, Clara's a fascinating character, and I feel like had I read or watched this before as a younger man, I would have found her to be
motherly like.
No, I would have not liked her. I would have been like, what is she giving call shit for? And like, I would have found her annoying.
But it's real life. I think the way it's written is very realistic.
True to
like
When she was looking at her options, this man's not going to be in her life a lot. He might die out there.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So that's why she didn't marry him.
Well, and she even gives Call crap about not giving Newt his name.
That's true.
She calls him out for that.
Yeah, she does.
She does. Yeah.
She's very aware. There's a little scene where they're gonna go see Clara, and Lorena's nervous because she has she's a sporting woman. She's a whore.
Right.
And
she's afraid that
she's hung up on the fact that how is this lady gonna see
me? Yeah.
Right.
Is she gonna be jealous and all this stuff? And then Gus reassures her. Clara's gonna be fine. She's gonna be nice to you.
Yeah, you don't know.
And she is.
Clara.
and she is.
She's actually both.
Right.
Yes,
that's why she's complex.
Yeah.
So, but she
that's
doesn't.
Cool.
But she doesn't make Lorena feel bad.
No.
She doesn't even say anything to her.
And
she talks to
that's
Gus.
Like real life too.
Yeah.
That's real life.
She takes Gus aside. They're talking, and she's like, that really did hurt my feelings that you brought her here. I'm older. She's this beautiful young woman. You seem to have all these accidents where these beautiful women are involved or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And
I guess I'm lucky, yeah.
So even though she's so kind to Lorena, and then later on, and it might even be that same day, I mean, they might literally go from this scene in the room to like in the kitchen with the girls, but I'm pretty sure that's what happens. They go downstairs, and right after she's emotional. She's like, that hurt my fucking feelings that you would bring her here. I was like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And then she sorts herself out, and she goes downstairs, and they're all talking, they're all hanging out, and she asks Lorena to stay with her. Mm-hmm. So she has these complicated feelings of jealousy and all this stuff, and she's just like, you're gonna take her to Montana? What are y'all doing? And she should just stay here.
Yeah, she's practical. She has emotional feelings about certain things, but she's also understanding of the situation and takes action on that.
I really think she's like the mother-like person.
I love her character.
I mean?
Her character is very...
Yeah, because I mean, you like...
She even takes the baby in. It's not even hers.
Yeah.
She even...
She has that emotional aspect to it that she loves it because she has the situation with losing her sons.
Correct, yeah.
But she also has the logistical mindset to be like, July doesn't seem to want the baby. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't.
Yeah.
Of course, Elena? Amira doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, she didn't care.
So
right away, you can tell she
the most
care.
practical, pragmatic thing to do is to take in that child. And then also with Gus, she loves this guy. She's got this personal feelings for him. But like you said, it's not practical.
No,
it's
it's
not
not.
logical to try to
People-
settle down with some guy who's getting into, some, craziness with Call, and so, I think that's really complex and really realistic.
Yeah.
Because that's how people are
Deal
really,
with their problems, yeah.
they're gonna, I think of myself as somebody who prides himself on being very like Boy Scout, right? But I'm not, I have emotional feelings or I have emotional thoughts or that are totally opposite, and that's real life.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not Superman. I'm not Captain America 24/7.
I know what you mean.
So neither is Clara.
Yeah, that's what I like about Clara.
She's
more.
great.
Yeah.
She's
She has the woman also the toughness. Like, hey, like she realized like, okay, I don't need this. I don't need Gus in my life.
she's the character that makes the most sense.
Like,
Yeah, she makes the most sense, but I think she's the most complicated character. Well, maybe not complicated.
She might
most
be.
complex.
She might be.
Yeah, out of all of the bunch, all the rest of them are pretty.
and she don't fuck around with her deals with the horse. You saw that she's very firm. That's my price. And then Call gets like, oh man.
Oh, then she gives Newt the horse.
Well, because
Oh yeah, she loves Newt, right?
yeah, she loves
Yeah,
me, but I
she's
think
like,
she wants
oh,
it
and
for
then
her
she-
daughter.
That does come up. That does
What?
come up.
That she was.
She goes, well, I
She
don't
was a
remember what her
winner, right?
daughter's name is Jenny or something. She's like, oh, Jenny's almost of age. Maybe Newt can.
Yeah,
And Gus kind of laughs it off.
and that's when she gives him the horse.
Yeah.
Like,
But, so, yeah, we talked about this before. We all have different feelings. I know where the fuck I stand on it, but I don't know if y'all's views have changed since we had a little conversation about it the other time, but whenever I'm of the mind, and maybe it's just because I like Clara's character a lot, I'm of the mind that when Gus finally dies and he makes the deal with Call to take him back to where they used to have picnics,
yeah.
that he should have just left Gus's body with Clara.
So
I don't think Call.
no, I think that Gus wanted something. He was on his deathbed, told his good friend who's been a ranger with, gone through all these many
Yeah.
adventures with, and if Call didn't do that, yeah, Gus would never know he's dead, but Call would know.
Yeah, Cole will not, he'll be living that with the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Like I promised my friend that I'm gonna bury him at this river that he loved, and end of story. Even if the exes or whatever wanted, no, bury him here. I want him here.
The exes.
I just thought of something. Dude,
No, yeah.
Call could have just. He could have done what he said, just cremated him, put him in a little jar, made it so much easier for him, taking him down the Lonesome Dove, or put him through the postage, bro.
Yeah.
This has never been talked about before.
That is true.
That is the most brilliant idea.
Like, he's freaking dead. Like, all right, bro. I want okay. If
That
one
is
of you
true,
guys,
America.
if one of you guys had told me, I want you. Yes. If one of you guys is like, I don't want you to take a car. I want you to drive my ass or walk my ass all the way to Mexico.
Yeah.
And bury I'd be like, yeah, sure. My cremate your ass and freaking.
No,
The thing where
USPS.
they turn him into a diamond. Have you ever heard that? Where they
Yeah.
bury people and make them a
Right.
diamond.
Exactly.
Yeah, just put on a
But
ring and-
it's once again, this is the loyalty of Call. You know what I mean?
And he could have.
Okay, can I go ahead and throw this out there again?
With the
he-
son.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're over here saying like, okay, what's important about it is that he kept his promise. He doesn't though all the time.
With the son
So-
part, yes.
so
He
yeah.
did not say
I'm your father,
to Newt
yeah.
that he's your
Yeah.
So if he's not, he could have just
something
been.
that was eating him inside, man. Like you just couldn't come to that point.
So okay, so here's the thing. Gus is asking Call to do him a solid by burying his body,
Yeah.
right? That doesn't necessarily have a character arc change within Call. He's just doing a task. He's taking a object from one place to another. That's it. The second thing that he asks him, I want you to tell Newt. That's a ask of Gus, but that's also an ask of him personally to change his heart, to change his ways, to change his thought process on
His philosophy.
His-
Yeah.
yeah.
Kid, yeah.
and that I'm not saying that. I'm not arguing like he should have. Yes.
Yeah, I think
But
so too.
that's so much harder. And so like we say like, oh, why, he should have easily. It's one sentence, but that's asking a lot from
him.
Him.
Yeah, like there's something in him that
needs to change.
Yeah.
And that's so much harder to do than you tell me, hey, go do this task. You know what I mean?
I see what you mean.
Not for me. I'm very in tune with my emotions. I would not have had a problem with that, and I feel like the better story arc. It ended perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with the ending, but I almost feel like I would have rather him had been able to tell Newt that, and then he goes, sorry Gus, the ladies want you here, and like that means more. We can fight about it in hell, or he could have, I don't know, that would have been cheesy, but I feel like that's kind of what I wanted Call to do. I wanted him to not end, I didn't want the story to end on him on a sour note in a way of him being like, not being able to just give Newt small, it's just so, it would have been such a small thing, and Newt's fucked up about it at the end.
So
And
you're arguing that the ending should have been
Flip.
tell Newt that he's your dad and not
And
send Gus.
Yeah, Claire.
One is
that's the
clearly
better
more
ending.
important than the other.
That's the better ending.
I would have liked that better.
Once again,
but I also would have liked if
it's-
Dietz survived all the way.
It's like you said, yeah. I thought Dietz was gonna.
I thought
survive.
Dietz was gonna survive. God,
But-
R.I.P. Dietz, bro.
But like, once again, I think it's just the loyalty of his friendship with him, just like the bond.
I'm
they
sorry,
had
man. I'm gonna tell you
together.
right now. As much as I love you guys, if I die and I ask some kind of, if I'm
taking
sweating and not in my right mind and I'm missing limbs and stuff, and I ask some crazy shit like that
I'm
of you,
taking you.
and then you run into like my mom and she's like, "What are you doing?" Listen to her.
No, I'll be like your son.
No, I'm
told
telling
me.
you.
Your son told me to take.
I'm going. God damn it.
In the end of story, I'm sorry, bro. Like I get it. Yes, as a father, I would have told my son, hey, "I'm your dad." But there's something inside Call that he can't do that.
No, I understand, and it's part of what makes his character
eat-
interesting. It's a flaw,
It's
whatever.
eating him
I just-
up. It's
I feel like
killing him.
it would have been a little
Inside.
bit of a neater bow. But that's the thing about the story again too. That subversion of expectation we were talking about. And maybe you're kind of tired of hearing it, but like, Lorena doesn't get to go to San Francisco. She doesn't get some kind of happy.
No.
It's a happy ending, but it's like not what she wanted.
What's a better place than she was before?
Yeah, but I'm saying
What you expect in the end, nothing.
None of it happens.
No,
None of it happens.
because right away,
The
like
only
you said,
thing-
at the end, he's gonna tell he's his dad, and it doesn't happen.
The only thing that you expect to happen is that they actually make
They
it to
make
the
it,
destination. That's the only thing that actually
them not
accomplishes.
catching Blue Dog. Them
Yeah.
the deaths that do happen.
I thought Blue Dog was gonna die. I thought they were gonna catch him.
I thought they were gonna somehow.
Yeah,
run into
I
him.
thought Carl was gonna die and not Gus.
I don't know. I think Gus dying makes more sense.
Gus,
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you.
Yeah, I thought Carl was gonna die.
I
don't
can
know why.
see that,
because
but-
he's the more the leader, the more of the going, and you cut the head off
Oh,
the leader.
man, that would have been crazy if Call died in like his last conversations with Newt.
Oh, but see, that's kind of like,
That's what we expect to
That's what
happen.
you expect to
Yeah,
happen. Yeah.
exactly.
his last dying
And-
wish is like, you were my son, I'm sorry, I regret everything.
I should have done better.
Yeah.
But like, I'm with you on the part
And
where
then
he
he
says
hugs
there's
Gus.
something with Carl
Damn.
inside of him that he can't say.
Yeah, he
those
can't bring
words.
himself to do it.
He's Gus is asking him to change who he is.
Yeah,
That's what he's doing. And
Yeah, how old is Newt? Like 16, 17?
I think he was
Probably,
like
yeah.
17 or
Something like
18
that.
years around there.
So
He's young.
for that long, he's denied that that's who the child is, and always like relied on the fact that his mom Maggie, I think her name is
Maggie.
was a whore.
Yeah,
So
a
like
whore.
literally Jake could have been, Gus could, any of them could have been
And
the father.
yeah.
And so he kind of like, that's his reasoning for sort of.
That could be Jake's son instead of mine.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
and taking care of him. And
Well, okay, I don't know if
Maybe
y'all.
he's playing it safe. Maybe he's playing it safe because, the fact that he put him as like the head of, the Hat Creek Cattle Company, he's like, if he is my son, I want my son to have a better off future.
No, but he
But
taught.
maybe he's not, and he doesn't have to necessarily
But he
call it out that he's.
he taught him how to cattle. He taught him how to horse. He taught him how to how to raise and dig a well and stuff like. I feel like he was preparing him for this.
And that's not
Yeah.
nothing.
Like-
But like I said, he's trying to play it safe. He's like, well, if he is, maybe I'll just try to teach him stuff along the way.
And then like
But
right
if he
away,
isn't, I don't have to necessarily.
you could tell a little bit when he was trying to ride that horse.
Oh, you see the pride.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
You see
Right
him
away,
go
you're like,
down.
okay, that is cause that kid. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
towards the end, remember when he rides that the when he's on top of that horse?
He's alright. Get another one.
Yeah, get another one. Yeah.
Oh no! You know one of my favorite nude scenes. I think we talked about it before. My favorite nude scene is like it's at the end when and he's seen a lot. They've been through a lot.
Yeah.
He puts Cole puts him in charge, and then Jasper is the guy that he fights.
Oh yeah.
Jasper's like, I'm not taking no fucking orders from some kid or.
Yeah.
He says some shit to Cole, and then Cole's like, well, you're not getting, you got to hang out and get your wages or whatever. And then Newt walks by. He's just been put in charge of the next mission or whatever, and then Jasper trips him, and then they start fighting. And then Cole's like, he doesn't let anybody interfere.
Yeah. Newt gets his ass beat.
And he doesn't win.
Yeah.
But he gets up. And
He's bloody, and he gets up, and what does he say?
he's like, yeah, go ride up the horses and get that cattle ready, and he walks away.
Yeah.
And like, this is tough.
He says it. Yeah, pretty much that.
Yeah.
He's like, get your horse. We got cattle.
Yeah, get your horse. We got cattle.
Such a baller move.
Yeah, and you're like,
Such a
fuck
baller
yeah,
move.
bro. You just
Yeah.
got your ass beat, and it didn't stop. That's very much what Cole would have done.
Yes.
Yeah. Even if he had lost. He
Yeah.
didn't like wallow in his sorrow.
He
He
didn't,
didn't like, be a little puppy dog like, oh, I just
Right.
lost.
I got
He
my
took-
ass
he-
whooped,
he-
yeah.
He took it on the
like a
chin.
man.
Yeah, he
like a
took it
man.
on the
He's like,
chin.
yeah, I lost, but you know what? Me standing up
I'm
and
still
saying,
your
hey,
boss.
I'm still your boss. I don't
Yeah.
give a shit. Hey, we still got work to do. That, I'm sure
You can
Jasper
tell
was like,
that's-
you know what?
That was very
Fuck,
much a Cole influence.
I like that. I really do like that.
I think you're right. I think something about this that part. I think the masculine part of us, the part that like wants to see men do like manly shit. That it would have been too easy for him to just make Newt win.
Yeah.
You know, it would have been
Yeah, I think it still would have been cool.
sure, but
Yeah,
I
but-
think him losing and still being like
And still being respected
Yeah, exactly.
is
Wait.
more
Yeah.
of a arch of his character development than if he had actually won.
And
If
he
he
stood
just
to
wanted
tall.
to
Even
win
if he
like
got lost, he'd get up and brush himself off and told him like, get back on that horse.
Yeah.
We got cattle to go.
That tells you more about a person than
Yeah.
winning and being like, oh yeah, I'm a tough guy. Yeah, we got cattle to run.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Yeah.
So, it's a good, there's a lot of good, like, just lessons in life in that regard, him doing that, I think that there's a lot of times when we, as, human species, we fall and it's easy for us to kind of crawl in our cave. And the fact that Newt didn't do that,
Yeah.
it's
inspiring. That's
inspiring.
why he was in charge.
Yeah.
Cole didn't make that decision. Just the fact that I'm pretty sure he's my son. Therefore, I'm going to leave him everything. He set him up for success as far as being ready to do that. Now, yeah, we can talk back and forth about whether or not that was the right thing to do, but
I mean, throughout the whole series, I think Newt is the obvious candidate.
Correct.
Kind of the way he carries himself. Like, yes, he does have that like boyish appearance. He's obviously young.
and they put the mustache on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on all of that, kind of sets him up to be this character that's perhaps not as expected to be in point of leadership, but all of his other qualities, you can really tell that he makes the right decisions. And as a leader, you have to make those right decisions.
Yeah.
And you can't think with your, you can't think with your junk,
Yeah.
You have to think pragmatically, and just like Cole does. And Newt isn't also immune to being human, because he's also, there was a scene where he was, wanting to explore with horse.
Oh yeah.
It was Virginia's that.
Yeah. It's the big woman. Yeah.
They call
it
her
is, yeah.
something heifer. Something.
So, he's
Oh,
human.
yeah.
He's human, yes. But throughout the whole series, you get the idea that he's not like Dish, where he's getting caught up with falling in love with a whore,
Yeah.
and getting all drunk.
He's more on the
He's
task
not-
and serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Newt finds the enjoyment in life in doing things the right way, in doing hard work, finding enjoyment of that. And I bet you Cole was just like that as a kid. He
Yeah.
probably really wanted to be in point of position of a leader.
Yeah,
and all that
you
kind of stuff.
you sort of see that exact like thing that you're talking about that Newt has. You see it at the very first scenes, like he tells Newt to go to bed.
Yeah.
He comes back and he's there. Gus and him are sitting on the porch, and Gus is doing his Gus thing, and Newt's there, and then Call comes up and he's like, "You go to bed. We got work to do in the morning." He's like, "Oh, come on, it's not that late." He's like, "You go ahead and do it." All right. He doesn't like push. He pushes back, but not really.
Yeah. He pushes just enough.
Yeah,
think,
but once again, I think he respects him so much. He looks up to him like he's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like any other character, like Dish would have been like, you know, oh come on, and he wouldn't have listened. He would have like gone and played his little game with a knife or something till 2 a.m. in the morning, then regretted it. But Newt had his little, displeasurement with it, but still did it anyway, and that speaks volumes for how young he is.
Return to Lonesome Dove. This is second season. Like it talks about more about Newt being more of the leader, and you can see a lot.
Is it the same actor?
He's the same actor. All of them are the same actor.
Cool.
The only one is Tommy Lee and the Claire's character. The only ones that are not there.
Mm.
Everyone else is the same. Everybody else is the same, but there's only two ones that are not the same. But once again, you can see a lot of the cause, the way he carries himself, the way he leads the tribe, and he runs off and goes and looks out on the horizon. And
I think what I'm gonna do is after I finish the book, I'll try to watch the second one because I kind of want to like wash my memory or ideas about Call and Clara.
Yeah.
And having the perspective of just the book for a while,
Yeah.
and then I'll probably pick up on that.
Yeah. Well, whenever you do have a chance, it's real good still. Like the only two characters are them, but everyone else is still the same, and it tells you what happens after the season.
What happens in the show? Because there is a book after Lonesome
Oh,
Dove.
maybe I should just maybe we should just do that.
We should read the book then.
We should read
I can almost guarantee you it's different.
I didn't know there
Probably.
I would check to see if McMurtry had anything to do with the screenplay on the
That
Return
would
second
be
series, because I bet you he's not involved.
No, I think you're right. I think he's not involved in it because his name doesn't pop up.
Then yeah.
I think
so it's probably just
it's CBS or the one who took over it.
CBS.
Yeah, it's the only ones doing the show now.
Yeah.
But like I told you, like the only two main characters, like Clara and Call, are not the same. Everyone else is the same.
Honestly, I could go without watching.
But it's kind of cool because it kind of gives you now them being on Montana and the troubles they come through.
I mean, if it's good, I might check it out.
It's actually
but
same thing. It's almost the same.
this is. I'm really glad that you
Yes.
brought it to our attention.
Thank you.
man.
I'm really
it was a great.
It was a huge deal for me.
Oh man, dude, I'm being serious. Like just listening to it, and sometimes I just sit there and I'm like, I just think to myself, just imagine being at that time, just being Call or Gus or even Newt at that young age. Like there's no TV, there's no books, like there's nothing for him to get distracted or. It's just grown man telling them stories about what they did before, and he's so excited. When he gets his first gun, he's like, "Oh my god, I can smell the oil," and then clicks on it.
It makes me worried, man, about the kids nowadays, man. Like today, I'm out and about, and I'm just having a conversation with my wife. We're just chit chatting, and we're at a doctor's office, and I look around, and everybody's, I see, and I'm like, dang, man. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and then back in the day, there was not that.
No,
there was just imagination,
imagination, living life.
This is where the podcast turns into a bunch of old guys complaining about young people. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
Well, we won't get into that. But
let's talk about how there's iPad kids, guys. What we're trying to do, we're trying to get on the internet, like using a new form of communication to like. Get people to read a book. Like this is
that's true.
part of how this works,
And if
that was imagine some little kids like, oh, we're watching the Chorizo Bros.
Hey,
Just
if they read the book and then watch the movie, hey, that's.
I think I had to.
We're
You know what's crazy?
understanding.
I think ideally, like I think we're gonna wrap up real soon here, but I think I had to come to this story at the age that I'm at. This would not have worked if I had discovered it when I was like 18. I honestly don't. I think I might have just read it and whatever, but I think my emotional maturity and my sort of understanding of people, I think characters like Clara, like that are unexpected, that I would find, I hold her near and dear. I'm like, that is a great character. I'm like, that's I want to know more about that. I want to hear read, whatever, experience more stories with characters like that are three-dimensional, and she's not one note, and she could have easily just been some, you know, bimbo that Gus knew and he was in love with. Like, you can tell why he loved her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wasn't
Every
every
woman, like-
run of the mill.
But the reason I'm bringing her up right now is to say that, like, as a younger person, as someone who is less experienced with, like, knowing how to talk to women or anything, like, my relationship with my parents, my dad, like, I think at the age I'm at, I sort of look at this whole thing through a different lens, and I sort of had to come to the story now. Like, it was sort of almost the best possible situation for me to discover it now than it would have been 10 years ago. Or 10 years from now. Like, I would have been like, damn, I wish I would have read that 10 years ago. I don't feel like, as much as I wish I had known about the story before, I appreciate it, I think, now at the perfect time. Do you get what I'm saying? Am I making any sense? I feel like it's perfect for where I'm at.
I think you make sense, and if you think that that's
For me personally.
for you personally, then yeah, for sure. I think you should give yourself some more grace, because I think it's such a great story that you actually would appreciate it even.
I think there is some
Even
young
younger.
people would love this.
Yeah.
Who are
I think a lot of people would like it.
Like,
Yeah.
the book, not about the book itself. I feel
The show too?
it's like, the show is good, but what I love about the book is how detailed this guy goes into everything. Even the pigs, to how he drinks his whiskey, to the night feels,
Yeah.
the breeze of the time.
And that's just the magic of books and reading. You know, there's a lot of stories out there that, you know, you fill in the gaps, and when you do that, it paints a masterpiece as opposed to being shown it on a screen.
Oh, man,
And so, yeah.
I don't know, just listen to it and just picture it in your head. Even if I didn't, like, I can see it. Like, I can see them riding off. I can see them hanging out.
How many cattle there are.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, I can see that. Like,
The scale.
he goes so detailed into it where you're, like, imagining, like, oh, shit, like, all these horses are coming and picking up all this dirt. You can't even see.
It's
even
just
They
if
talk
there's-
about the bandana being caked with dust.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
It's just enough kind of description for you to be, like, locked in, but also enough to, because I think there are some times when authors give you too much detail. And
Yeah, he's really good at not doing that.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
like,
think
he kind of
that's a
backs away
testament.
from it, like,
Yeah,
and gives you a
Yeah,
little
he
bit
paints the picture and then he lets the characters
take over.
take over.
Yeah.
and you as a reader, like, have the opportunity to, like, oh, cool, I can kind of picture that. But if it's too explained too well, then you're like, oh, I've already got it, you know.
Like, he already got to the point
Yeah,
where
right.
Oh, so do you remember in the show where there's like 60 miles they have to travel before they find a stream? And
Oh, yeah.
they're like, damn, we need water.
yeah, that's one of my favorite
In the
parts.
book, that part, you're like, whoa, like
You're probably like,
because
oh,
it's
shit,
like
are
all
they gonna
like
survive?
you just
Are
and
they
I'm
gonna-
going, I'm getting thirsty just thinking about
I
it.
know, right now I'm getting thirsty.
But that's how good it is. It really like it puts you there, and it's more so. I think it isn't necessarily the description of what's going on around, more so what the characters think about what's going around.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's like
He's in the
so he
mind-
doesn't have to say the cattle were running and the dust was filling the air, and he doesn't have to say it. He doesn't say it like that.
No.
He tells you what's happening to Newt and how he thinks, wow, I didn't think it was going to be this bad. I can't see 10 feet in front of me.
Yeah.
So it's painting the picture by filtering it through Newt's thoughts.
Yes, that's what I like about
And that's the
yeah.
masterfully written aspect of
Yeah.
this is that's how it paints the
I
picture.
wonder
for
if
you.
won a Pulitzer Prize. Like, it's just, you know,
It's
pretty obvious.
It's
And
top notch.
it is, dude. It is funny. It's very enjoyable. It's not boring. There's like, it's not like, you're not gonna sit there like, okay, just skip pages and continue to
Yeah,
sit
no,
there.
it's-
I tried to
every-
skim it. I couldn't. I just was
Yeah,
like,
you
I'm
can't.
just
Because
gonna
you're
keep-
gonna
I'm just
miss
keep reading it.
parts. You know
Well, it's
what
not
I
even
mean?
about that. It's just wanting to be in it.
Yeah.
Like-
Oh yeah.
Right,
It's a
you're
great
right
read.
about that.
Great read.
So I think we should close out on that,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for sticking with us. We kind of went on some. It's more of a free conversation. I think future episodes of the Chorizo Bros is gonna be that. I think we're gonna
Yes.
just sort of, you
Chit
know,
chat about books, movies,
movies. It could be anything.
Life.
documentary, live.
Yeah.
And we are eager to hear what y'all's opinions are on.
Please.
watch this shit. I mean, I imagine someone is watching this right now that didn't read or watch the show and is just like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah.
But that's kind of it. I mean, we had pretty much nothing but good things to say about it.
But also some good, good criticism too, which, is
and nothing is perfect.
Yeah, nothing's perfect. So, yeah. Get out there, watch it, and stick around for another episode.
We're going to figure out what we're going to do next. Have some discussion, but come back and visit us again and see what we got to say about some fun stuff. So, thanks for watching, you guys.
Thank you.
And
Bye-bye.
thanks again to Artica AC and Heating for sponsoring the video also.
Please do.
Bye, guys.
Later.